Welcome to the news belt of the AM show. In our first story, former Minister for Food and Agriculture and Member of Parliament for Abetifi, Brian Champong, has expressed a strong interest in leading the reconstruction of the Edum PZ market in Kumasi, which was recently gutted by fire. During a visit to the market to sympathize with affected traders at Edum, the Member of Parliament donated 300,000 Ghana cedis to support recovery efforts. The fire, which swept through sections of the PZ market, destroyed shops and goods worth thousands of Ghana cedis, leaving many traders devastated. Nanabachi Adam has more in this report.
The former Minister for Food and Agriculture and MP for Abetifi, Brian Champong, visited traders affected by the Edum PZ fire to sympathize with them. He toured the burnt market to witness the rate of destruction. During his engagement with the traders, the Abetifi MP assured of both immediate financial relief and long-term intervention. He contributed 300,000 Ghana cedis and pledged to begin talks with the Asantehene Otumfuo II to rebuild the burnt structure. Since
the fire outbreak, I've been here to assess things for myself. It's quite painful and horrifying what has happened to the people of Blue Light, the traders here. But it's quite complex. Coming here today, you see that they have started building, but the structures are very weak. But you see that they are supporting it with block work, some structural work here and there. It's not stable. I want to engage the Otumfuo. He's out of the country. He'll be back by weekend. I'll engage him if he permits and the assembly permits. I want to rebuild this structure for them in the next, it should take about 12 months. We should be able to put this thing together, a very solid structure, and then clean the front, put up some stalls so that the traders here can have some normalcy to their lives. A lot of people are making donations. They should continue to make the donations because people have also lost capital. People have also lost substantial amount of money. So whatever is raised in the end should be distributed to the affected traders whilst I take up the infrastructural aspect of things. And the great chief will be in town by the end of the week. So I intend to come back here on Friday to meet with him with his kind permission. And when that is done, we will also look at the political structure and engage them. And when that is signed off and it's handed to me, within 12 months, this structure will be up.
Brian Champong emphasized the need for swift action to ensure the traders can return to work as soon as possible. The traders and market leaders welcomed the support with appreciation, describing his intervention as compassionate. Ever since this incident happened, a lot of MPP MPs have been here. Today, we want to say a very special thank you to Dr. Brian Champong for also visiting us and making this generous donation. We are very much grateful. God bless you. The construction of the market, as promised by Brian Champong, is expected to begin after consultation with stakeholders and relevant authorities. He further pledged support of 500,000 Ghana cedis to traders who were also affected by the Kantanka fire earlier this year. For Joy News, Nanabachi Adam, Kumasi.
Now, tension is rising among traders occupying unauthorized spaces in Kumasi, the Ashanti region's capital, as the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly prepares for a minor decongestion exercise. The operation will involve the eviction of traders from the medians, while those occupying pavements are being urged to make room for pedestrians. The KMA's action comes as the one-week ultimatum given to these traders nears its end, with the deadline set for tomorrow. Now, according to the Assembly, the exercise is part of a larger initiative to enforce city bylaws and reclaim public spaces. We'll take you to the Ashanti region for updates which we got, but listen to KMA boss Richard Oforiajaman.
As early as possible, I'm pleading with you, please encourage anybody who is doing any trading activity in the middle of any dual carriage lane in Kumasi to get off before we get there. I'm going to be lenient a bit. From Wednesday, I don't want to see anybody there selling in the middle of our road, especially those who are in the lanes of middle dual carriages. I don't want to see anybody there. But from Wednesday, in as much as I don't want to, I'll be lenient. We'll give ourselves a week. Get ready. If you have put any table in the middle of the dual carriage, get ready, get them out, so that by a week's time we'll come and it will not be there. The second bit is that I call it a minor decongestion. The people on the pavement, because of the construction of the second phase of the Kijitia market, it's brought a lot of people on the street. We understand that particular, and then the blue light area too is giving us another headache altogether. So we understand that situation. So if you're on the pavements, just adjust. We'll be able to bear with it for some time, not perpetually. We'll be able to bear with it for some time. But please, in the middle of dual carriages, we will not encourage anybody to be there. And then if anybody is erected any pole on a tire rim and it's on asphalt, that one, within 2 weeks, they themselves must take it out.
Let's talk about the judiciary now. And the future of Ghana's Chief Justice hangs in the balance as President John Dramani Mahama has suspended Chief Justice Gertrude Araba Isaba Saki Tokono with immediate effect following the establishment of a 5-member committee to investigate 3 separate petitions against her after determining a prima facie case in consultation with the Council of State. Former Deputy Attorney General Alfred Tuah has described it as a dangerous precedent, this politically motivated decision by President Mahama to suspend Chief Justice Gertrude Tokono after the Council of State determined that a prima facie case had been established against her with regard to 3 petitions. Alfred Tuah, who expressed surprise at the President's decision, warned that the decision by the President would come back to haunt Ghana's democracy in the long run.
I'm rather surprised at the suspension of the Chief Justice, even though the Constitution makes for such a step to be taken. I'm surprised because the President is not bound by the advice of the Council of State. And the President may decide not to go by the advice and still indicate that the CJ should be in office while the matter is being heard by the panel. But that's the decision of the President. And I see the advice of the Council of State as being very poisonous. We have to be very careful the way we treat the head of any arm of government in Ghana. We have 3 main arms: the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. The expectation is that the Council of State will play a role in such a way that we can have a balanced track.
But Deputy Attorney General Dr. Justice Remsai, on his part, has rejected allegations by his predecessor and the opposition NPP that the suspension of the Chief Justice is politically motivated. He argued that the suspension was necessary to help the Chief Justice prepare and put up a proper defense before the committee, and most importantly, prevent interference in the matter.
There is no specific timeline. But the general understanding by legal, what lawyers call reasonable, it means that we should look at the extent of the allegations and also the number of witnesses that may be required, the volume of documents that may be analyzed, and all the things that to come to. But it shouldn't be a long process. And I think there's a general idea of how long someone may act in a position. For example, we know in the public service, there's a general rule that you shouldn't act beyond a certain number of months. I believe that if we go by that, we should be able to come to the conclusion not beyond what is usually considered reasonable for acting, which is, I think, 6 months or so. But of course, it could be shorter, depending on the nature of the allegation, the number of witnesses, even the nature of the defense that the Chief Justice will mount. These are all factors that are going to determine what is reasonable. So, but I believe it's a governance issue, and we cannot live in a limbo for long.
Staying on that beat, the Deputy Attorney General also addressed the key issue of timelines within which a final determination was expected on the matter. He argued that the extent of allegations and the number of witnesses and the eventual defense that the Chief Justice would put up would determine how swift the matter would be dealt with. Let's get into our next stories now as we proceed from there to other matters. All right, so back some snippets from Justice Sremsai.
But the general understanding by legal, what lawyers call reasonable, it means that we should look at the extent of the allegations and also the amount of the number of witnesses that may be required, the volume of document that may be analyzed, and all the things that to come to. But it shouldn't be a long process. And I think at this point, I think what is happening is a very technical issue, which also is specifically prescribed and dictated by the Constitution. So I would suggest, and I will plead with everyone to be very, to desist from politicization. And I've already heard some commentaries of, especially the former, my very good friend. He said the Council of State has poisoned something. If you have not seen the petition and the content, which I have not seen, and he has also not seen, it would be very unfair to, as a matter of fact, describe persons who have, Council of State, I think we all know the composition of the Council of State, to suggest that they have poisoned, the system with a decision of merely saying that it's a case to be answered.
Now, a heated exchange occurred yesterday morning at the Tamale Teaching Hospital between Health Minister Kwabena Kantanka and hospital staff over the facility's persistent struggles with non-functional basic medical equipment during his visit. The unannounced inspection aimed at assessing service delivery and infrastructure at one of the northern region's leading healthcare institutions turned confrontational when the minister discovered that several essential pieces of equipment, including diagnostic machines and sterilization units, were out of order. Frustrated by what he described as an unacceptable state of neglect, Akando questioned hospital administrators on why patients were being referred to private facilities for basic services. Correspondent Martina Bugri has the rest of the report.
The health minister paid a surprise visit to the Tamale Teaching Hospital to ascertain the state of healthcare delivery at the facility. Touring the facility, the minister questioned why some of the equipment were not in use. Some of the non-functioning equipment included MRI scanners, ventilators, endoscopy machines, among others.
They were 40 from the beginning. These are very expensive. One of them is a 1.8 billion Ghana, and then they are not working.
But you never use them, they didn't run testing.
Speaking to the media after the tour, the minister said the ESCO account would help address these challenges.
There are issues of equipment that has been supplied to the facility that are not working at all. We'll look into all these matters. Looking through the issues of the equipment, MRI and CT scans, the breakdown and what have you, one of the possible solutions is to explore the PPP arrangement, where we can also invite the private sector in to have facilities on our various hospitals, except that let me make the point that whatever fees and charges they will be charging on the various premises will be subjected to the Fees and Charges Act by Parliament.
He added that another account will be set up from internally generated funds of hospitals to deal with maintenance of their facilities.
There are some of them, we'll sit down with them, they will use their internally generated funds to do. There are others that are also beyond them. We'll also link up with them from the ministry level. There are others that Mr. President will also have to hear, and then we take it. I think that Tamale deserves better than this.
Mr. Minta Kando said he would liaise with other ministers to help address the immediate challenges of water and power of the facility.
The next steps, one, is that I'm going to engage the minister responsible for Works and Housing immediately and try to make a case for Tamale Teaching Hospital to be exempted from this rationing of water. We also realize they have issues of power. Right after here, I'm also going to engage the minister responsible for power to make sure we resolve the issues.
At the emergency department, there was an exchange between the minister and the doctor in charge over the death of a patient. This is how the exchange went.
I told you to keep quiet. Your approach and your mindset tells me that is perhaps why these problems have not been resolved. When you don't do that, I told you to keep quiet. You're giving me, I've tolerated your posture, your manners after this problem. When you come and meet such a person, even ministers look at what he's doing. Can you imagine a person? Listen, trying to contain the situation. When you put up this behavior, even the minister, me, look at the way you are behaving in front of me. Even in front of a minister, so you can imagine how I'm trying to explain. You can imagine how you treat the common person. How can you behave like this? So it means that you're doing worse things here. It means that you're doing worse things here.
Now, what was once envisioned as a vibrant commercial hub for the people of Krofrom in Kumasi has turned into a haunting symbol of broken promises, neglect, and decay. Over a decade after the Krofrom market was demolished to pave the way for redevelopment, the site now lies in ruins, overgrown with weeds, occupied by squatters, and tainted by crime. The uncompleted structure has become a den for drug addicts, a space for open defecation, and a hideout for armed robbers. There's more in this report by Josephine Sego, read to you.
Many traders of Krofrom, the stored market project has not only affected their livelihoods, but taken a severe emotional and psychological toll. Many say the demolition of the old market structure marked the beginning of hardship and despair for the entire community.
Many of the traders who used to be here have died from hunger after the demolition. Now we are even afraid to stay late because robbers hide in the uncompleted parts of the market. We just want a safe place to work.
The Metropolitan Chief Executive of Kumasi, Richard Ofori Ajimanbwedi, recently stated that the Krofrom market will be completed by 2027.
By the end of 2027, it should be ready. Yes, I have people who have shown me financial capacity. Okay. Some work has been done, so I would have to see the documentation. Level of completion.
He further indicated that hawkers within the city would be relocated to the new Krofrom market upon its completion, but the people of Krofrom are skeptical.
The lack of a proper market has deeply affected traders, and sadly, some have even lost their lives because they could no longer afford to survive. This market was their only source of income.
Beyond economic hardship, the community now faces a critical lack of access to basic goods. The traders and residents of Krofrom are not asking for handouts. They are asking for what they were promised, the completion of their market.
The market is in poor condition, and as a result, many traders have stopped selling. If the Kumasi mayor steps in to complete the market, we would truly appreciate it.
With 2027 only 2 years away, their hope hangs in a fragile balance. Many wonder if it will be fulfilled or if the Krofrom market will remain just another forgotten project buried beneath political discourse. Josephine Sego's reports for Joy News.
Let's get into our stories now. And financial economist Professor Lord Mentor has advised government to start diversifying its export to explore other opportunities from Europe to withstand the shocks from the United States tariff increment. This follows fresh warnings from the International Monetary Fund that Ghana's economic growth for this year will suffer, while inflation could go up marginally as a result of the global tariff war. Reacting to the development, Professor Mensah said export diversification was the best option to absorb unforeseen shocks.
Clearly, if the big shots, within the global space get affected, it tends to spill over to smaller countries like, Ghana. So having, Donald Trump being some way, somehow inconsistent when it comes to, this tariff policy, of course, it is expected that it will affect, bilateral trades with the U.S. But then also, the impact will depend on, the net trade flow. I mean, if I say the net trade flow, I'm looking at, the difference between, the export that various countries do to the U.S. and then also the import that they do from the U.S. I mean, if you take Ghana, for instance, as an example, in 2023, we did very well by exporting more to the U.S. than importing from the U.S. So with that, case, if you look at the impact of the 10% tariffs, it may not have that much of impact compared to, other countries that have focused on the U.S. as their main, trade destination. Ghana has done well when it comes to the diversification of its, trade, export. For instance, if you rank, in terms of the data of volumes of export, clearly you will come to appreciate that the U.S. is around on the 7th, position when it comes to our export volumes to the U.S. So dealing with the Switzerland, dealing with China and all those, I think Ghana stand, a position of some way, somehow not affected that much, from these tariffs. But then Ghana may not be affected. But then you remember Ghana is trading with China. If China has a problem with the U.S. and it turns up that, the economic activity within China goes down, obviously it's going to affect consumption levels of, the Chinese, and it may affect, Ghana.
Now, in a remarkable feat of maritime expertise, Ghana's marine pilots have successfully berthed one of the world's largest container vessels at the Tema port, making it a historic milestone in the country's port operations. Here's more from Tamale Josu.
It was a defining moment for Ghana's maritime industry as the MSC Delta, one of the largest container vessels on the planet, arrived at the Tema port on Sunday morning. Measuring 400 meters in length with a gross tonnage of 228,786 and a beam of 61 meters, the MSC Delta arrived from Vietnam, India, and now holds the record as the largest vessel to dock at Ghana's shores. The successful berthing was executed by Ghana's Marine Department under the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, led by Harbour Master Captain Bramiel Tavia. Marine pilots Captains Frederick Ishen, Bernard Kuonu, Nathan Kwe, Airam Amegashi, Frank Annan, and Daniel Nyama Ato guided the vessel into position, demonstrating exceptional skill and coordination. Every movement of the operation was meticulously calculated, with the mooring team advising on alignment and securing the ship with pinpoint accuracy. The vessel's master, Captain Mercurio, expressed deep appreciation for the safe and professional handling of the docking process. The successful berthing of the MSC Delta not only reinforces Tema Port's operational readiness for ultra-large vessels, but also strengthens Ghana's position as a competitive trade hub in West Africa. For Joy Business, I'm Mele Josu.
That's it for the news overall this morning on the AM show. But still can stay with us. Up next, we'll serve you the news review. Do stay. And there you have it. I gave you Mary Poppins for another morning.
Dennis, we've had a number of wet Wednesday mornings this year.
I was saying when I started the show that what is it about Wednesdays? Because it appears it usually rains.
So what a morning I've had. I'm glad I'm here this morning.
this morning, the thunderclaps and the rest, I was like, hey, are we going to...
Did you got here okay?
I got here okay, but it wasn't easy. I was just praying there would be no broken tree, or you know how it gets when... So meandering through, and some places are kind of you know how the streets get, so you have to really go slowly and...
I was driving through dams, and then dams followed me. But good morning. We're glad to see you and have you here with us on the AM show. And let's start by introducing our guest for you this morning. We have Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante joining us. He's a political scientist and head of European Studies at the University of Ghana. Doc, good morning to you.
Good morning, Ziti, and
great.
good morning to Ben, as well as my colleague Jabir.
Right. We also have Dr. Jabir Mohammed, and he's a senior lecturer at UPSA. Doc, good morning to you as well.
Good morning. Ziti, how are you?
I'm fabulous. Thanks for asking.
I'm at University of Ghana Business School, not UPSA.
Thank you for that correction. So, Ben.
Yes, so before we get into, I just want to do this morning. Thank you very much, Nana Joabena. You know who you are, and thanks especially for this morning. She's part of why I got to work. I was able to get to work. It's been a crazy morning, but thank God. Anyway, quick thoughts from you, gentlemen. I'll start with you, Dr. Jabir Mohammed. Any quick thoughts for us this morning before we get into the papers?
Well, Ben, last week I started talking about I think accidents on the road. I want to revisit that. This week, we have had series of accidents once again in the same similar road. Just yesterday, about 10 people died on the stretch of Accra to Kumasi through a car colliding with one another. I say stand firmly that it is time to dualize the road. The president promised that in his manifesto. So I believe that they should walk the talk now. It is now to walk the talk. We don't have to continue to lose a lot of lives through the road. So I'm pleading with the authorities to start doing something on that.
Thank you so much for those thoughts. And you see, I always have my heart in my mouth, literally. Sweetie, I don't know how often you've used that stretch. When I have to use that stretch, you're also measuring or gauging what vehicle to use on that stretch. If you're going in public transport or if you're driving, what time of day. So you've mentioned the road dualization. One of the things I see overspeeding, speeding and overspeeding. And sometimes people not being very, I don't know, but look at what killed, Ebony Rains, for example. That lump somewhere, averting it led to disaster. There are so many, and we all have the experiences. It's sad. But let me get to Dr. Asah-Asante for your take. I'm sure you use that stretch from time to time.
Which stretch are you talking about?
He's talking about the Accra-Kumasi stretch.
No, I hardly go to Kumasi.
Oh, I see. Right.
Yes. But if something is wrong, we need to fix it because we are all road users. And even if you don't use it today, tomorrow you use it or others are using it. But that said, let me look at what is happening relative to this Chief Justice process and all that. Why am I looking at this? I am surprised about comments from lawyers and well-meaning people who have knowledge in law in this matter. Some people are talking as if they know what the judgment or what the end of the process will be, and that they are speaking as if that the woman is guilty, even though they are yet to go through all the processes and get to the end. Let us remember that the person we are talking about is the Chief Justice. He was first and foremost a lawyer, a distinguished one, of course. So he knows what to do. When he had not received the petition, he called for it. It was given. He responded. And the process is going. I think that anybody who is not satisfied with the process, just use the law to address your issue. But for people to attack the process, condemn the process, and say all manner of things to the extent that people are even, talking as if they know the outcome, that is unfair. It's unfair to a process that is written in the Constitution and that is giving constitutional backing. If you think that there is something wrong, walk to the courts and seek redress. Otherwise, keep your mouth shut and allow the process to go. And those who think that the process is the right thing at the end of the day, or is the wrong thing at the end of the day, whatever comes out, all of us will know. But we bastardizing the whole process and speaking all manner of ill about the process, and even condemning the woman who is here to defend herself before the committee is unfortunate. Let us all wait, follow the process, but nothing prevents anybody who think that the process is shortchanged and order to go to court and seek redress. That is the spirit behind any democratic enterprise. And use the law to address your issue as opposed to any other thing.
Thanks, Doc, for your quick thoughts. And Sweetie, I agree with him on those on both extremes. Due process and all of that. They are going according to the Constitution, right? In fact, I've heard Phyllis Kwachofosu say that a suspension doesn't mean the committee has concluded on anything, but it is what the Constitution says in terms of what can happen if we establish a prima facie case. And those on the other end who are also saying, she's gone. She deserves a fair hearing, which she is now going to get, after which we'll know whether she'll come back and take over from Justice Bafo-Boni, who, by the way, I've seen lists and some people talking about, why is this person? Why is it that person? It's all in order of seniority. Nothing to do with.
And the way that
let's let the process be had. That's all.
The way the newspapers captured it this morning is quite
interesting.
I mean,
right?
a prima facie case does not necessarily mean she's guilty yet. That's the whole reason why that committee has been set up to probe further. And they're saying Ghana's day of shame. This is the Ghanaian publisher. Says Ghana's day of shame. Really? As Mahama suspends Chief Justice, minority describes action as judicial coup. The custodian is also saying the same thing, Ghana's day of shame. As journalists, I think we should be circumspect with our reportage and the way we caption these headlines. I disagree with you if you say it's a Ghana's day of shame. Granted, it's never been done before, but it is not a constitutional breach. This is just due process. And I've listened to members of both parties say, indeed, it is, Frank Davis yesterday agreed on PM Express yesterday that it is due process. So where is the shame in here? But let's get into some other stories. I'll start from the Ghanaian publisher. Government's mining decisions could spark job losses, repel investors, according to Minority. Depoliticize entrepreneurship, Afenyo Markin says. And let's start from there. The minority leader in Parliament, Mr. Alexander Afenyo Markin, has reiterated the need to take politics out of entrepreneurship, stressing that businesses must be allowed to thrive based on merit, innovation, and hard work rather than political affiliations. And quotes, the public sector is already choked and the jobs of the future will be created in the private sector. And this is the mindset of our young people, and we need to depoliticize that. Let me just add two stories and I'll come to you, gentlemen. ECOWAS advocates reforms to improve intra-regional trade. Dr. Uma Elien Taure, the president of ECOWAS Commission, has bemoaned the low intra-regional trade, with trading hovering around 12% among the West African member states. We know that yesterday we marked 50 years of ECOWAS, as well as that meeting on Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger's exit of ECOWAS. And hopefully we get the details of that meeting. One last story. Who will be the next pope? Could it be the first black or Asian pontiff? Benjamin, remember yesterday I was saying that it would be a day to see a black person ascend to that level of power, position, or an Asian person. But the story captures, I think, the top picks of those who are likely to step up into that role. We have Reverend Father Peter Texan, 78, Peter Edo, 72, Pedro Parolin, 70, Matteo Zuppi, 69, Robert Saras, 79, Mario Grech, 68, and Jose Tolentino, I think that's the youngest we have here, at 59 years old. Gentlemen, let me start with you, Dr. Kwame Asante.
So let me just say this,
yeah.
Since I am Catholic. Those are cardinals. And
cardinals.
That's the interesting...
So they're not Reverend Fathers?
Oh, everybody, they are all priests, but they are cardinals. When they go into conclave, it is these cardinals who qualify by way of age. I think those who are not beyond the age of 80 who will partake in the conclave or the voting for the next pope. One interesting thing, Peter Cardinal Appiah Turkson, he's been in the fray of these conversations for about 10 years.
True.
Even before Francis and all of that. But I love the way the response came when the topic came up. He said it's not about region in 2013 also. It's not about region. It's not about which area. It's about where the Holy Spirit leads. So we'll leave it at that. And that has been the response of the church in Ghana as well.
Okay.
Anyway.
Dr. Kwame Sasanti, over to you. Your reflections on these stories.
Yes, I think I'll start with politics and entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Yes. We need entrepreneurs to change the fortunes of this country in whatever way possible and as soon as possible. We can't wait any longer. This means that the state must make conscious effort to support their efforts, to let them grow, to stand competition from within and outside the country. That's the spirit behind any country which is serious about addressing this challenge. But sometimes what we see in this country is that our state, through the use of government, come in and then destroy our own entrepreneurs simply because they belong to the other side of the political divide. That is very shameful. It must cease and must cease today. We are not going to tolerate that anymore. Our children are on the street looking for jobs, so it doesn't matter whether any hat anybody wears, whether it's the color of one political party or another. They don't care. They need jobs, and that whatever the state must do to support everybody, irrespective of your party affiliation or your party color. Support everybody, let them grow. At the end of the day, when people find jobs, that they know that there is a government which is catering for their needs. I move on to the intra-regional trade, right? It's an important one. And if you look at what ECOWAS stands for and what we are gaining now, it means we are not doing much. We need to double our effort to be able to improve our lot in this area, to make life better for countries who appended their signature to the establishment of what? This all-important body. But if you extend the conversation to countries that today they have gone out of the democratic enterprise into authoritarian rule and they want to woo them back, it's a great effort. We need to double our effort in that direction so that we discourage people to using the military to address political challenge. I have said, and I'll continue to say, that a wrong democracy is better than a military rule that can give me silver and gold, because we know them, we know their color, and we know that they only come to deceive. In no time, you see their true colors. So I will urge African leaders, particularly those in the sub-region, to encourage the support for democracy and make sure that they also govern, that they will not attract those miscreants into the political field, so as to endanger the democratic enterprise. I believe that the only way that Africa can develop is developed through a democracy, nothing more, nothing less. And I move on to the Pope that we have lost. Sad story, but we are looking at the whole process and we are following. I know that for the Catholics, very well organized group, and then they will come out somebody who will be a leader for all within the Christendom and will lead the church. We wish them all the best, and then we pray for the life of the Pope as they move on to another world. But we as traditionalists, we also pour libation to support their effort so that somebody good will come and support the church.
Right.
I am very much interested in the activities of the Catholics and any other religion, because when we are in difficulty, we fall on religious groups and religious leaders. We have seen the struggle against military dictatorship and military nonsense, if I may put it that way, in this country, where we saw the Catholic Standard, we saw the Christian Messengers, we saw all those religious groups who stood up against dictatorship and misgovernment and all that. We have seen popes in the world also talking about human rights violation, Latin American case, for instance, and the rest of them. I always support the cause for people who stand up and let be, so that they are counted before the right-thinking people for anything that we call wrongs of our society.
Right. Doc, thank you so much. Let me go to Dr. Mohammed now. And just for a bit of context, I know there are several metrics that we can use to measure the successes or failure of ECOWAS. And 50 years on, I'm curious to know what you think, what's your assessment of it is. We could talk about social impact, intra-regional trade, peace and security, all that. Is there something there to celebrate, Dr. Mohammed?
Has ECOWAS achieved its mandate since it was set up? We cannot say they haven't done anything, but we can say they have also done something perfect. But there are a lot of hindrances that is constraining ECOWAS from being successful. One of the key things is that it is even extremely difficult to travel among the ECOWAS countries. We don't even have good roads to the ECOWAS country. We don't have railway. Even if you want to take a flight, you may end up spending a lot of money just as you want to take a flight to any other European country, which is a very serious matter. We don't have any, sea linking most of the countries. Even if we have, it is extremely difficult to even travel among us. So that is how come that we have a very low trade among ourselves, and we have external trade being very high. Essentially, what are some of the activities that we trade among ourselves? What are some of the goods and services that we need to trade among ourselves? These are not clearly defined. What is our comparative advantage? What is Ghana having that other African countries within the SAP region do not have? What can we trade among ourselves? These are things that we have to sit down and discuss and ensure that we put all these mechanisms in place to ensure that we have a fair trade and we have a balanced trade among the region. If we are not able to do so, then we should not be counting to have a higher trade among ourselves. That isn't going to work. If we want to allow that to work and work perfectly, let Ghana work very hard to get a railway line from here to connect to Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso also connect to another country. The other country also connect to another country. By the time we realize we have connected the whole of West Africa together, and that is how come that we can have an efficient trade among ourselves. But when we are not able to do so, we can't do anything. The last time, a friend of mine had to leave Burkina Faso to Ghana to take a visa because I was traveling with her. But she told me that I have to pay about $950 to get a flight from Burkina Faso to Ghana just to take a visa and go back. I cannot afford that. And for that matter, I'm not ready to come. So if businessmen and women are going to be facing this challenge, do you think that we are going to be able to trade among ourselves? Essentially, no. So these barriers, if we are not able to overcome them, we cannot have any efficient trade. Another point is about the military problems that we have. About 3 or 4 of them have decided to withdraw out of ECOWAS before because they have gone out of democratic governance. I entreat them to come back and also to return their countries back to democracy. In as much as some of them may be praised for the good work that they are doing, I equally believe that if they return the country to democratic dispensation and the governance of the country is efficient and follow the rule of law and do the right thing, I believe that everybody will have peace at hand. Now, on the issue of politics and entrepreneurship, the two of them are inextricably linked to one another. You agree with me that entrepreneurship is the engine for growth. All the developed countries that you are seeing around, it's as a result of efficient entrepreneurs that are driving the growth of those countries. It is not about political entrepreneurs. What do you see in our countries? We see political entrepreneurs. They just come in when the government is working. Let the government go out of power, and that business is also dead.
Right.
If you run a business like that, we can never have an efficient job creation process. And most of the businesses also don't have, their owners do not leave a legacy. We do not form a legacy businesses. If the owner dies, the business also dies. These are the things that we need to come in place to work on. Let's create businesses that leave legacy so that when you are alive, you train people to take over from you. When you die, the business continues to exist. One thing I also want to say is that the businesses should be put on the stock exchange. if you just run them as one-man business, like a mature business, and you are able to offload it to the stock exchange, you allow public participation. And once you allow public participation, the business is going to continue to exist. And Ghanaian businesses too, let me employ them to go outside Ghana. That is why we have the ECOWAS trade. Use that and establish branches outside Ghana. That is how you can grow.
Right.
Learn from other places' experiences and build your country. Now, on the last point of the papacy, I think that I wish them well. We are Muslims. We want peace to exist in the world.
Right.
So I believe that they can decide and come up with someone who will best represent them and defend the cause of the world.
All
and
right.
you know that the Catholic Church has done a lot, including health, education, politics, whatever it is. They have done so much in the world. I wish them well.
Okay, thank you. And just to add that Ghana Catholic bishops to organize National Memorial Mass for the Pope, and that's also in the newspaper, the Ghanaian publisher newspaper. On the back page, Absa Bank partners with Dulcie Boateng for Poriel speech. Ben, I'm curious to know what you think about it. This is a young woman influencer leveraging her presence or influence on digital media to create opportunities for other young business owners to thrive. Did you follow the story? She's called Dulcie, and then she just says she's going to, all her followers who have businesses should come together and sell, buy, whatever it is. And it was a beautiful thing. Last year, I think GRA even partnered with her.
Post or something.
You've not followed that. Yeah, I think that is commendable.
The concept is good.
Yeah.
I mean, to come together like this and share. I know of other people who are also, they come together, network, some even WhatsApp groups. I've been on WhatsApp groups where people say, you know what, let's have a day where all of us share what businesses we are into, what we have on offer, so that internally people can. And I think it's a brilliant thing to do. Definitely. It's
a great way to drive.
Rather than always, I am the bigger person, I am I have more followers on all of that is. They say the only time you should look down on someone is when you are helping them up. So.
Got it. Well, that will be it for the Ghanaian publisher newspaper. Ben, let's do yours one, and then I'll come back to the custodian.
All right. So let me get into the Daily Guide newspaper. 13 killed, others injured in gory accident. And here we are this morning. We were just talking about that. Dr. Jabir Mohammed was talking about that. Man's penis cut off in lover's room. Ouch. Ouch, 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 ouch. The mere thought of it. Mahama suspends Tokono Bafoboni, acting Chief Justice, apologized over failed Galamsey promise. That's according to the MPP. JHS student lynched over phone. And that's it. So let me get into the stories. And I'll start from page 3. President Mahama has suspended Chief Justice Gertrude Saki Tokono. And I know we've dilated a bit on it, but I'm just looking at what the Daily Guide is saying. Following the setting up of a 5-member committee to probe the 3 petitions calling for a removal from office, a statement issued by the spokesperson to the president and minister in charge of government communications, Felix Wachuofosu, indicates that the president has, in accordance with Article 1466 of the Constitution and in consultation with the Council of State, determined that a prima facie case has been established in respect of 3 petitions against the Chief Justice. In the absence of Justice Tokono, Justice Paul Bafoboni, who is the senior-most judge at the Supreme Court, will be acting as Chief Justice until such a time when she will resume her duties or a new Chief Justice assumes office. Just moments before the announcement of the suspension of the Chief Justice, Member of Parliament for Old Tafo, Vincent Eko Asifwa, filed a supplementary affidavit in support of his suit and injunction application at the Supreme Court, in which he avers that the petitions to remove the Chief Justice is a ruse by the current government to remove Chief Justice Tokono by any means necessary. And there are those who have contested and said you can't injunct processes that the Constitution itself has set out and imposed on the president. It's one thing if you are saying we need to amend the Constitution, which Martin Kpebu has been, lamenting. But to say we are injuncting the process, that's an argument that others say is not tenable. But let's get into the other stories. Let's go to page 6. At least 13 people are feared dead, and several others have sustained severe injuries following a fatal accident at Amanase Estate Junction in the eastern region on the Accra-Kumasi highway. And I believe that was what Dr. Mohammed was referencing. The tragic accident occurred in the early hours of Tuesday, April 22, 2025. The accident involved a fuel tanker with registration number GR 1300-16 and a Sprinter bus with registration number GW651023. Other details are there. Please, let's stay safe, and our condolences to the bereaved families. I'll just do these other stories and we're done. I'll go back to page 3. A junior high school Form 1 student has been cruelly lynched by a mob after he was allegedly caught stealing a mobile phone and an amount of 800 Ghana cedis at Aboaso Zongo in the Ashanti region. The deceased, aged 13, was said to have stolen the mobile phone and money from a certain house at Aboaso Zongo around, or should I say Zango, around 3 a.m. on April 15, 2025. According to a Mamponting police statement, the deceased was caught in the illegal act at an ungodly hour. An alarm was then raised and the suspect was eventually lynched by an angry mob. Just as we remember Major Mahama, let's remember this as well. You may catch someone, like the law will say, in flagrante delicto, right in the act of committing something that is a crime. It doesn't give you the right to lynch the person. That is another crime. And if you are caught, the same way some of the people in Major Mahama's case went through the court process and got their sentences, you could serve a hefty sentence, maybe even face murder charges. So let's watch it. A man believed to be in his early 60s has had his penis completely cut off under some bizarre circumstances. The unfortunate incident happened on Good Friday, April 18, 2025, when the victim, Samuel Sam, was sleeping in the room of his alleged fiancée, one Stella, at Kwesimintim in the Efia Kwesimintim municipality of the Western region. Though the perpetrators of the alleged crime had not been identified, rumor had it that ex-lovers of the fiancée might be responsible. And now there's a missing penis somewhere, a penis on the run. I mean, this is devastating. If you're, can you imagine your crown jewels,
I feel like I don't have enough information to form an opinion.
You don't.
On how frustrating.
You don't know how frustrating this can possibly be.
I can't relate. I'm sorry.
Hey! You let me end here on page 6. Just me.
No, but I mean,
I just had to lump all the stories
to this man.
It's something else. I had to lump all the stories so that we can get quick reactions and then move on to other papers. The last one. Apologize over failed Galamsey promise, MPP. The national youth organizer of the MPP, Salam Mustafa, has called on President Mahama to render an unqualified apology to Ghanaians over his inability to deliver lofty promises, especially in tackling illegal mining, popularly called Galamsey. According to Mr. Mustafa, since the NDC assumed the reins of power, early signs clearly show that they are not going to deal with the challenges facing the country as promised, especially on illegal mining, and should therefore apologize to Ghanaians. Sometimes our politics... 4 months versus 8 years of what? And I still stand by my position. I think better is being done now when it comes to Galamsey. We are not where we want to be, but thank God we are not where we used to be. Your take, gentlemen. I'll start with you, Dr. Kwame Asante.
Yeah, I will also continue from where you left off with the issue of Galamsey. I think that people must take their time. You are talking about a government who has 4-year mandates. We just started less than 4 months. So it is too far-fetched if you want to measure the performance of the government relative to its promise in the area of what Galamsey. What we have seen, which Ben rightly said, we have seen something which is moving towards an improved situation compared to the old order. Yes. Now that act which allows people to the CI to man in forest areas has been dealt with. You see the minister, moving action in there. They've talked to communities, forming all manner of groups to help deal with the situation. That is the solution. My prayer is that they should maintain the momentum and get us to the finish line. And that is my prayer. But we will not hesitate to criticize the government when the need arises. But so far, I think that so good relative to what the fight against Galamsey, except that the issue of deporting foreigners who are invading our forest areas and our land to what mine, and they don't subject them to what the court process. That is unfortunate. We won't accept that. they should change that policy. That said, I want to move on to 13 people killed in road accident. We have seen this time and again, and I don't know what we can do as a society. But I feel so strongly that this state, our state, your state, is not ready to deal with this problem, because there is always a way out to any problem. So why do we continue to have high numbers of people who can be, potential, movers and shakers of our society? But here we lose them on the street simply because of what? Bad road uses, the uses of the road, road regulations, we throw them to the dogs, and we also have engineering problems and all that. And why do we continue to be in this state? Ghana, we need to wake up. We are losing a lot on the streets, and even one death is bad enough to dent the image of the country relative to what the problem we are talking about. GHS student lynch over phone. This problem has been with us. And sometimes I ask myself whether we are in a democracy or a mobocracy. Sweetie, when we say mobocracy in Portugal, and we are talking about mob rule, where people say, Choboy. Yay. Are we in a democracy or a mobocracy? I mean, this type of mob rule, nobody will accept it. We are not saying that if somebody has intruded into your privacy and is taking something that does not belong to him, you don't need, you have the power to apprehend the person, but hand the person over to the police and let the law take its course. But you
Dr. Kwame Asante, sorry to interject. It's not something that, I don't know if it's a cultural thing, but it's something that Ghanaians do. Even in local parlance, they tell you, say, so is this something that is deeply rooted in who we are as Ghanaians, that we have to start some sort of reorientation? Because it appears people don't,
You got it right. It's something cultural. I mean, once alarm is raised, you are dead.
You are dead.
But that is not how we build any civilized society. This is a country of laws. So if you think somebody has done something wrong, use the law to right that wrong. But you taking the law into your own hands, and I'm happy, Ben, drew the attention to those people about the consequence of that action, that you are liable. If the law, the law grabs you, you are going to be punished severely for that. So we need to begin the socialization, inculcating into children, right from the family to the schools to public places and all that, so that we become aware and conscious about it, so that any wrongdoing, you use the law to right it, but you don't, resort to the use of state of nature, where brute force is what you are going to apply. Remember, we have a democracy, but not a mobocracy. Mob rule, no. We saw that in 1979.
You remind me of, political science class, where that Hobbesian theory of life being poor, nasty, brutish, and short. Yes. And you used to reiterate that. You brought that back to my mind this morning. I'm sure Dr. Jabir Mohammed also remembers.
I took my book and I read about the Leviathan, the biblical sea monster. We'll talk about it and its impact in Ghanaian politics, which I'm seeing as another refreshing account that I will share in the course of the week. Yes.
Right. Dr. Mohammed, quick thoughts on these stories as well as we get into other papers.
Well, about the issue of the Galamsey, I will continue to reiterate that I think the government is in a good step to ensuring that we kept Galamsey. One of them is that we have been able to repeal the law that allows us to mine in forest zone. And very recently, I hear that Apunta mines licenses has been revoked on certain aspects of mining, which is a good step in a particular way. And also, clearly, if you look at things very well, you will notice that the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, the Minister for Science and Environment, they've been working collaboratively with a particular working group to ensure that we end Galamsey in most of the communities. So I think that these are critical steps that the government is taking in place to ensure that we end the Galamsey menace. I will agree with others that we are supposed to be moving as fast as we are supposed to do. But 4 months into the governance of this country, the steps taken are very crucial. And I believe that if you continue the momentum, in no distance from now, we'll be able to keep the situation of Galamsey minerals. I will re-entreat that anybody who engages himself or herself in Galamsey and you are arrested, they should continue to confiscate everything. Just take everything of that person, including their resources, their properties, and everything, and imprison them. Don't end it there, just imprison them. If we continue to do this, we are going to end it amicably, because if you are found guilty and you are caught, know that everything that you have, everything will be taken away from you. Then you go to jail straight up. We should be able to come out with a law on that in that regard, and we're able to solve the problem. Now, on the issue of the lynching of people, if you look at it critically from Islamic point of view, if a thief is caught, you go through the Sharia principle, and they want to find out the reason why you have gone to steal. Is it that you are hungry or you are just a greedy person? If you are found guilty of anything that is not appropriate, then that is where they now put you into the right Islamic procedure, and sometimes a hand of the person is being chopped off. So I think that people should not take the laws into their own hands. If you arrest somebody who has stolen something, let the police take the course, let the police do the investigation, and ensure that at the end of the day, justice is given to the person whose property is missing. If you look at the prince says that men should not forget the loss of their fathers than that of their patrimony. What that means is that when your property is lost, it pains you more than even when your parents die, because you know that after death, your parents will definitely die. But for your property, it will continue to remind you that your valuable property is being stolen. So I will understand the way and manner in which people have to act in an injustice manner when someone steals something. But as humans, let's restrain, because anybody can be found in that situation. Sometimes it may not be true, but people will kill you unjustifiably, just like they did to Major Muhammad. So I believe that people must take restraint in some of these things. Now, on the issue of someone's penis being chopped off in a room, I think that people have to be faithful. Women and men must be faithful to their partners. If you are not faithful to them, that's what leads to some of these things. And usually, as a man, why should you also go and sleep in a woman's room? That is culturally not acceptable. It's also not really good. So I believe that even if you go there and it is very late in the night, Master, go home. Don't keep your life in a very dangerous position. Otherwise, things will not go on well with you. Now, if you look at the case of the Chief Justice, let the process take its own course. Vincent has taken the case to court. And as a lawyer, I think that he should have read the Constitution carefully and know that the process that he's passing through is not constitutionally right. I am not a lawyer, but I believe that the right thing must be done. So the Chief Justice should be allowed to go through the process. He asked for the prima facie cases that were filed against her, and she has read it, and this particular judgment has been given. It is not President Mahama who has suspended her. It is the Council of State that have taken a decision on her. The President only communicated that to her. So if you make it to look like President Mahama has taken an exclusive right to suspend her, and that President Mahama has violated the law, and that it is not good for the image of the country, what is good for the goose must also be good for what?
Right.
Whatever it is. Happening to Charlotte Osai. Charlotte Osai was sacked under a bizarre circumstance. So I don't think that, yes, it should be tit for tat. But I maintain that we have to follow the due process, and we have to follow the right thing as humans.
All right.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Let me just, before we get talking about the Pope briefly and go on, you remember when you read that headline from one of the papers, Ghana's Day of Shame?
Day of Shame, yeah.
There are some responses. So, Bra Atok Kwamina Forson says, "You shameless host." I usually like these types. You shameless host. You are waiting for her to be sacked before you call it a day of shame. Militia media. And he says the thought of removing the CJ is even shameless, and the media is waiting for her to be removed before. You are the ones destroying the country without speaking truth to leaders in power. I'll just throw a few questions to Bra Ato Kwamena. Has there been any breach of the processes involved in Article 146? Let's start from there. Are we the ones, as media people, who determined the prima facie case? I don't know whether you were I don't know whether you're a member of the Council of State, whether you are part of the process. I don't know. And are we not discussing the matter now? In fact, it is one of the major issues we are discussing on the show this morning, listening to different sides, starting from yesterday. And I'm curious, did you feel or express these same sentiments when, for example, Daniel Yaw-Domelevo, because in that case, the Supreme Court ruled after 3-4 years that it was indeed illegal post the fact. So I can use that one as an example. It was illegal, yet it was done. Did you feel the same passion around that time? Sometimes, we can be so myopic. I'm sorry. But anyway,
I just struggle to find the element of shame here, because it's not like someone has breached some constitutional provision that you're saying that you're calling him out for. But I want to leave it there. Let me get to the Custodian newspaper.
Can I indulge me one last time? Forson, please help us out. We're going to just take a little bit on the Pope, since we've been talking about it. We know that his remains are being transferred to the St. Peter's Basilica. That will be actually for public veneration. So there's a process involved, and usually mourning officially for the Pope takes about 9 days. And then he is taken to the St. Peter's Basilica for public veneration, which is what you are seeing now, his body being transferred, or his mortal remains being conveyed there. And eventually the Pope is traditionally buried in the crypt beneath St. Peter's Basilica. But in this instance, we hear that there may be another resting place for the pontiff. So that's just a quick update for you.
It's the simplicity yet sophistication of the casket for me. Very simple, open, but it speaks volumes. Yeah. So there you have it. While we're observing that, I can also just go through the headlines quickly, and then I'll land on two major stories from the Custodian newspaper. Political intrusion threatens Ghana's private sector. Demolition man Mahama pulls down CJ. That's not correct. The CJ has not been pulled down. The procedure is still ongoing, and as and when we arrive at a conclusion, we will let you know. So, two main stories. First, Baumia NPP starts 2028 journey with Thank You Tour. The presidential candidate of the New Patriotic Party for the 2024 general election, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, together with the party's leadership, is set to embark on a nationwide Thank You Tour starting Saturday, the 26th of April 2025. And so we wait to see the fallout from that tour. And then I want to talk about the Ministry of Tourism launching National Heritage Photo Competition 2025. And this is for the benefit of our audience. If you're interested, you should take note. The Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture has announced the launch of the National Heritage Competition 2025. And according to the Minister, Madam Jifa Gomashi, she said entries can include photographs of heritage sites and cultural products, such as traditional dresses and food, and added that participants must not be older than 25. It means, Ben, you and I are disqualified. We cannot enter that competition. But if you qualify, please do well. It's a way of promoting our culture and heritage. It is called the National Heritage Photo Competition 2025. And then I want to land here. Don't show my movies. Bimbo Ademoye warns Ghanaian TV stations over copyright violations. You know, Bimbo.
I found that interesting. Actually.
Yeah, because this is how they get paid. When you create an artwork, content like that, the only way you get paid is through the views. So when you carry it and put it on free TV for other people to watch, you are shortchanging the producer or the executive producers of the show. And she's saying, and this isn't the first time this is actually popping up. She's saying, don't show her content on Ghana TV. If you want to watch her show, her TV, her films, go to YouTube and watch it so she can get money from there. And lastly, before I hand over to you, gentlemen, there was a story I wanted to, yes, you anti-mining policies, I think you want to say your anti-mining policies are scaring investors, minority tells government, and the minority New Patriotic Party in Parliament has strongly criticized the Mahama-led government over a series of decisions in the mining sector in the last 3 months, warning that these actions are damaging Ghana's image as a stable and attractive investment destination. They talk about the controversial Gold Board Act, Anti-Goldfield Ghana Limited, security concerns, erosion of investor confidence. And I'm just wondering, is it anti-mining policies or anti-Galamsey policies that you're talking about? But Dr. Kwame Asante, these stories for your reflection.
I'll start with the thank you talk by Dr. Baumia. Yes, the party can take whatever decision that they deem fit, but I see it as unnecessary because there are more important things they can do now. Important thing, begin to look at the reports and address the concern. One of the things that even without the report, they must start be doing is to deal with the intractable conflicts that are within the party, the intra-party field, right? Those, because they are conflict resolution mechanisms that failed them. They were not able to deal with them, and we've seen recurrence of some of them and a whole lot of problems.
But perhaps this is a way to unite or reignite their passion for themselves and, you know, come together and celebrate so they can fix the gaps.
How do you unite people who are at each other's throat? What kind of unity program is that? Nobody will listen to you. Settle them before you go to them that, look, let's come together and work. Because once you do that, you are able to galvanize a lot of support. The party becomes so attractive. But you shove all those problems under the carpet. I'm afraid you are not going to unite anybody. Because if I am at loggerheads with somebody and you don't find means of uniting us and you want us to what, shake hands and say, oh, you are coming there for, thank you talk, I will not welcome you. I'm not interested in any thank you thing. But this is my view. The party has superior view, so they can go with that. The issue about the Nigerian artist saying that his movies should not be shown and all that, it borders on the issue of intellectual property and how people abuse that. In this country, we take things for granted. People sit down, craft a whole lot of things for their use and the use of the public. But hey, they work to have reward for some of these things. People want to take them free of charge. And for me, that is a worrying thing, because sometimes when you look at the way people sit down day and night, bend the candle and develop ideas, and people take them for granted, it's unfortunate. So I support a call like this, so as to also encourage others to also think outside the box and create things and then derive the maximum benefit from it. Issue of anti-mining policy, the so-called anti-mining policies of government, I don't see it. Which government will want to come out with policies that will undermine mining in this country? Then the government has failed ab initio. I'm not sure that's what the NDC is doing. The issue of Gold Board, I'm surprised that people have all manner of views about that, but I am for the Gold Board all the time. Because if you look at the things that they have detailed and that the Gold Board stands to do for us, I have no doubt to support it. If there are problems associated, let's discuss it. But to rubbish it and all that, I disagree. This is a board that whoever is having gold, come and sell there. You have no place to sell. Because, look, people are destroying the forest, getting all these things. So it's a way of checking. And then look at even smuggling and all that. Have we tackled that? We want to tackle all these things. All this effort aim at what? Sanitizing the process and making sure that Ghana gets the best out of what the natural resources are given to her by God. So I don't see any anti-mining activities and all that. What about those who are saying that? What did they do when we saw people raping the sector? That one, was it also to encourage what? Investors in that area? But you see, I understand these things. Ghanaian politics, there's something very characteristic of Ghanaian politics. Hypocrisy at all times. You see them, speaking at different on different issues. But meanwhile, the substance beneath it, they throw them away and all that. When it comes to their turn, they have a different formula that they want you to use and all that. We've seen hypocrisy in Ghanaian politics. It's not going to die down today or tomorrow. But I believe that any government worth its salt should be bold, should be courageous, and pursue policies that will bring hope and glory to its people. Any other thing, forget it. We don't want it.
Thank you. Dr. Mohammed, over to you.
Now, the gold board, if you look at it, it's not anti what do you call it, investor
anti-mining. That's what they're calling it. Yeah.
So I just believe that it is politics as usual. But you see, clearly, if you look at the mining sector, government participation in the mining sector is very, very minimal. The last time I checked, we have less than 3%. And it means that over 97% is taken away. And which means that it is time for government to do corrective measures. If you look, we were called Gold Coast. It means that we have significant gold deposits. Why didn't you take advantage of it and transform this country? It is because we have very poor and porous fiscal regimes in the mining sector. And that is even reflecting in our oil sector, because we have not been able to come up with good policies to govern the sector. We have lost significant amount of revenue in the sector in the past. Look, go to Norway. When Norway discovered oil in 1969, they put in pragmatic measures. Either you leave the resources on the ground or you get the full benefit of the resource. What is our royalties coming out of the gold? What percentage of royalties do you have? What percentage of service rental do you have? What percentage of participating interest do you have? So the gold board is a novel idea that is going to revolutionize the mining sector and ensure that the government gets the full benefit that comes with the natural resource. So if we are not able to put in these pragmatic measures and we keep shouting that we are warning over investors' confidence, what have you, look, we either leave the natural resource on the ground or we get the maximum benefit out of it. If you continue to exploit it and we don't get the full benefit, future people will never leave us. They will never leave us. They will curse us for the bad things that we have done to this country. So I strongly believe that let's have pragmatic measures in the area. Let's have laws that are going to be governing the area and make things better for the full benefit of this country. Going over the things in the sector, I stand to believe that, look, we are losing a lot. We are losing a lot in our natural resources area. Our natural capital has not been fully financed. It has not been fully utilized properly. And it is time for us to get up and fight for our own cause.
Right. Thank you so much. Ben, over to you. That's that for my papers.
I saw a story I just wanted to highlight. Yes, so Shadobutu, Muslims mourn Pope Francis. I'm talking about the National Chief Imam. I always get so happy with, the interreligious tolerance in the country and how what affects one is felt by the other. And I felt I should just highlight that. The News Center this morning, government spotlights local investors in sweeping reforms. Afinyo Markin returns home with a promise of development for Chame. City FM, Channel 1 TV donate to rehabilitation centers as part of Easter Orphan Project. Congratulations to them. Free education and meals, one woman's gift to special needs kids. And Mahama NDC seek revenge, a retaliation for the removal of Charlotte Osei and others. Interesting headlines. On the back page, MTN stands in Worship 2025 ignites spirit of praise. I think that's something I know you'd probably be interested in attending.
No,
Fidelity Bank, pardon me.
It's over.
Oh, it's done, huh?
Weekend, yeah.
When was it, actually?
I think Saturday or Sunday.
Oh,
MTN
wow.
stands in Worship. And
and I see very familiar faces there.
Yeah, Lois Solademi was there too.
Were you there?
No, I wasn't.
Oh, but
I went
because
you see the flyer you're holding? I was there instead. The Saints in the Devil's Eye. I went to see the Covenants play.
You did? Which one did you attend?
The last show.
Because I attended the 3 p.m.
You
one.
did?
Yes.
We missed each other.
It was good.
It was good.
It was good.
It was good.
And after that, I went and saw something else. at the Snap Cinema. Fidelity Bank commissions modern e-library for Tesano cluster of schools under Orange Impact Initiative. But let's quickly look at these stories. I'll be very quick with them. Let me start from page 3 with Afenyo Markin. So the minority leader in Parliament and Member of Parliament for Efutu, Alexander Kwamena Afenyo Markin, has pledged to bring transformative development to Chame, his paternal ancestral hometown in the Volta region. His homecoming, marked by fanfare and heartfelt engagements, underscored a deep commitment to uplifting communities beyond his electoral boundaries. I felt that was a beautiful one there. And then pages 6 and 7, which is where I'm going to end. When Madam Emma Salah left the hustle and heartbreak of Accra for the quiet shores of Keta in the Volta region, her heart was heavy with grief. The death of her mother had left her shattered, and she hoped that the change of environment would offer some form of healing. But she found on her journey, what she found wasn't peace, it was purpose. It talks about how she's moved from healing to helping all these children. And when I see people doing these kinds of things, I cannot but salute them. I am so fond of children. So there we go. Finally, the Accra Times, JM's choice secures total approval as DCE for Wilsa South, and Kusau Overlord restores peace in Boku. And finally, Amakofi Boa talks hard. We will uproot Galamsey, describing activities of Akunta mining as criminal.
All right, let's get some final thoughts from our guests, and then we will wrap it up. Let me start with you, Dr. Mohammed. In about 30 seconds, give us a wrap of your thoughts.
Yeah, so I think that the thank you talk of Dr. Bawumia, what Ator is he going to be telling the people of Ghana or his party members?
Thank you. They just want to say
simple
thank
message
you.
is thank you.
Well, thank you should come with a convincing message.
Okay.
So I think that they have to reflect on it and know what they want to say to the people. Otherwise, you will even further anger them.
Thank you. Dr. Kwanasa Asante, you have the last word.
I think I support Afenyo Markin and his drive to get back home and help in the development of his place. This is the duty of every Ghanaian. When you get to a certain level that you can assist, please don't waste time. Assist. Time is not on our side. Let's build our state now and forget about other states. And then this is the only one we have. Once we develop it, we own it, we are proud of it, we are standing to defend it anytime the state comes under attack. We are here as Ghanaians. Let us think about it at all times.
Thank you all so much. Dr. Jibril Mohammed is a senior lecturer at University of Ghana Business School, and Dr. Kwame Asasant is a political scientist and head of European Studies at the University of Ghana. Thank you.
Welcome back. We segue into our big stories this morning. And first on the chopping board, we are contemplating that prima facie case that has been established in respect of the Chief Justice, for which reason now that committee has been set up to delve into whether or not she remains in position. For now, the president has triggered the constitutional clauses and taken the step of suspending the Chief Justice, Gertrude Tokonu. But there are different sides to the discussion, different takes on it. And joining me here, of course, we have Sweetie Abochi, who will walk us through our guests that we have joining the conversation this morning.
Right, but what you're seeing on your screens right now is just some sort of summary of everything that's happened so far. We know that President John Dramani Mahama, like Ben said, in accordance with Article 146 of the Constitution and in consultation with the Council of State. Now, this is very important because the commentary coming in sort of suggests that the president did this on his own. But it says that in consultation with the Council of State, determined a prima facie case and as established in respect of 3 petitions against the Chief Justice, Her Ladyship Justice Gertrude Araba Isaba Tokono. And our guest joining us for more details on this, let me introduce our guest and then we continue with the slides that's seen on screen. We have Nana J. Bafwewa. He's a lawyer and member of parliament for Misha South. And we also have Nana Kofi Safo Kantanka. He's also a lawyer. Gentlemen, good morning. Just to test and be sure that we can hear you.
Yes, good morning. How are you doing, my...
I'm fabulous. Thanks for asking. Is this Nana J. Bafwewa?
Yes, please.
Okay, do we have Safo Kantanka as well? Okay. Kindly unmute so we can hear you. All right, so what you're seeing on the screen, let me continue with that while we try and connect with our guest. The President has consequently established a committee in compliance with Article 146 of the Constitution and in consultation, I think we've done this already, following the composition to inquire into the petitions which have been brought against the Chief Justice. Now, this is the panel, Ben, and this is where an interesting detail lies in terms of the people who are going to be sitting on this panel. We have Justice Gabriel Scott Kwamang, Justice of the Supreme Court. We have Justice Samuel Kwame Adibu-Asieju, Justice of the Supreme Court. We have Daniel Yaw-Domelovo, and I heard you this morning about how it might be controversial that he's sitting on this case when the Supreme Court has dealt him, should I say, heavy blow in his time of trouble. We also have Major Flora Bazwarunura Dalugo. He's from the Ghana Armed Forces. Very little is known about this person. I don't know, Ben, if you know anything about her.
Not much.
We have honestly Professor James Sefa Jisa, Associate Professor, University of Ghana. So this is the member, the panel, the 5-member committee that will be probing that prima facie case that has been established against the Chief Justice. And so, pursuant to Article 146, Clause 10 of the Constitution, and in accordance with the advice of the Council of State, the President has, by a warrant, suspended the Chief Justice with immediate effect, pending the outcome of the committee's proceedings. And that's what we'll be discussing this morning, because minorities come in with their reactions. And I want to start with you, Nana J. Bafwewa. How did this news come to you?
To be frank with you, we knew this was coming. Why? How did you know this was coming? We knew it was coming because of comments that had been made by very senior figures, the ruling government, right, the ruling party. And so we knew it was coming. However, I thought that given the gains that we have made since 1992, right, we were going to see some tolerance, right, and if you like, moderation, in terms of how we handle things. And so some reason was going to prevail at some point. And so if you observe, in all my public discourse or commentary, I kept urging caution. It was the very reason why I kept urging caution, because I thought that there would be reasonable voices, right, in the midst of the demands by the hardliners who would have reined in the call for what we are, we have seen, right? Before the NDC came to office, it was without a doubt that they had some grievances against the judiciary.
And what are you inferring this from?
Pardon?
How did you arrive at this conclusion?
It's common knowledge. Statements made by senior members of the party, including the president himself, at the NDC Lawyers Association conferences. This is common knowledge, very respectfully. I mean, there are copious evidence to that effect. Indeed, the grievances was not just against the judiciary. It was even against the Ghana Bar Association, to the extent that they deemed it necessary to even register, right, another lawyers grouping. Subsequently, then they had the NDC Lawyers Association, which was also having their conferences from time to time. And so you can tell a certain level of bitterness in them. But I have always believed that, look, this is a democracy. This is a democracy. This is a constitutional democracy. When you have the power, you don't go for short-term gains. You look at transforming the system to make it better and not to suit you. And so in all this discourse, I kept urging that let's be cautious. Even if you are not happy, let's pursue reforms. Luckily, you are undertaking constitutional reforms.
All right.
So why don't you, right, consider reforms that would be to the that would inure to the benefit of not just the present but also future generations. So it was expected, given the conversations that had gone on in public by NDC leading figures, and subsequently by when the when the president was sworn in, as recent as last week, we all saw interviews by senior members of the party. General Mosquito, the chairman of the NDC, Mr. John Kennedy Edunketia, in interviews that have been circulated widely. We have also heard Mustafa Bandi, right?
We will get incisive with the conversation. That's your initial remarks, and Ben will come in shortly. But let me also take initial comments from Nana Kofi, Safo Kantanka, and then we get the conversation going. What about you? What's your initial reaction to this developing story? Nana Kofi, Safo Kantanka. Kindly unmute for us.
Very well. Can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yes. Good morning to our viewers. Yes, if you ask my initial comments, as lawyers, we and even citizens of this country, we would have wished this never happened. Yes, we would have wished this never happened, because we have three arms of government, which are the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. Each of these arms of government is independent. So for us to get here as a country, as I said, I would have wished this never happened, because it doesn't send a good signal to our democracy and to our governance, even though the processes the president has embarked on is constitutional and all that. The optics are not good. It doesn't look good for the country and for all watching citizens or observing citizens. It doesn't look good. So if you would have asked of my initial comments, that's my initial comment, that we wish this thing wouldn't have happened at all. It doesn't look good.
It does not look good, and I do think that no person would want these things to happen, that the heads of the three arms of government would be impugned. As media, as we're referred to as the fourth estate, we want to be protected. So all these protections are important. But is that to say that if there are infractions or if there are issues with any of these leaders, the law cannot be followed? As far as even the president, there are protections given a president, but that president is not immune to the law if he or she falls foul of it. Is that not correct?
That is very correct. I didn't know why the basis of me saying it doesn't look good. As Lawyer Wua initially pointed out, what doesn't look good, as in the optics not being good, is that it's based on the previous comments. It gives us some sort of colorization. If President Mahama hadn't come out with his comments with the NDC lawyers and then being voted into power in 2025 and then embarked on this exercise, would have been some sort of independence. The optics would have been good. But the previous comment by the president, then candidate with the NDC lawyers, gives us some sort of colorization. So anybody at all can impugn some of these motives within the constitution, within the constitutional process he's embarked on. That's why that's the basis of me saying it doesn't look good. Yes, because it's giving people, even as Ewa is saying, and even non-lawyers and even ordinary citizens are even just impugning all these thoughts within the constitutional process. Yes, it looks as if, fine, there has been an allegation or a petition against the Chief Justice. Fine, we will come to power, even though we've made all these comments. We've come to power, but we shouldn't make it look as if we are using the constitution to achieve a political aim, which has its undertones from the previous comments I earlier alluded to. So the basis of me saying it doesn't look good is based on the colorization which has been given to the process. So it doesn't shy away from anybody who has infringed the provisions of the Constitution for a petition to be brought against that person, a person to be passed through the constitutional process. Nothing stops any authority from basing his actions on the constitutional process. But then the previous comment is giving it some colorization.
All right.
To the process. Yes.
We'll address that specific issue when I go back to Lawyer Bafo. Yes. But let me just ask you, so far, in terms of due process, the letter of the law being followed to a T, Is that being done, or do you see something else happening?
From where I stand, I don't see anything wrong with the constitutional process. Well, right from the start, the petition was sent to the president, and the president, in consultation with the Council of State, have established a prima facie case. Before the establishment of prima facie case, the president, the Chief Justice wrote to the president for copies of the petition to be delivered to her. It has been done. The committee has been set up with even the composition. There are no qualms to the composition. It has followed the qualification as ascribed to by Article 146. They have established the committee. Now the Chief Justice has been suspended as well by Article 146(10), although it is due to the discretionary power of the president for him to suspend the Chief Justice based on the advice of the Council of State. And as we all know, the advice of the Council of State, even though not binding on the president, as in the plethora of authorities, the president has exercised their discretionary power. So based from Article 146 down to Article 146(10), the president, there is no comes with the constitutional procedure. The president has established, and even if you talk about the exercise of the discretionary power, it is quite reasonable. You see, the Constitution also, interpreting the Constitution, which also ascribes some form of reasonability to the process. How can the Chief Justice be in office and exercising her judicial and administrative power whilst a committee has been set up to look into a petition against, to look into the petitions against her? It doesn't add up. It wouldn't add up for the Chief Justice to be in position as Chief Justice and still be queried by the committee. It doesn't make sense, constitutional sense. So that's why the Constitution also, an interpretation and the provisions embedded in it, has ascribed some form of reasonability for her to step aside. And even the suspension doesn't mean removal. It's for her to just suspend her activities or her position, for her to go through all the inquiries. And if she comes out so clean, she assumes her position. And even the Constitution itself also makes provision for the president to revoke the suspension.
Indeed. So we'll get to all of those parts. And indeed, the Constitution makes room for that. So from where you sit, the suspension is right by you, right?
It's in order. Constitutional order.
Let me go to Lawyer Bafo. I heard you talk about reasonable voices. The Council of State has its role in advising the president at any given time on establishing a prima facie case, among others. When you speak of reasonable voices, are you saying these people did not apply reasonableness in arriving at this decision, this prima facie case that has been established?
I don't think that is what I meant.
So please clarify.
I don't think so. Now, let me quickly respond to something. My learned colleague, Kantanka, mentioned that the president has the discretionary power to suspend the Chief Justice under Article 146(10), and that he has done it. And so what has been done is constitutional, and that it appears that all the boxes have been ticked. And so in that regard, it is constitutional. My learned friend perhaps may not have considered the need for Article 146(10) to be read together with Article 296 and Article 23. Article 146(10), to the extent that the president exercises the discretionary power, is regulated by Article 296 of the Constitution, which is mandatory, especially 296C, which requires the pre-existence or the pre-publication of a regulation in the nature of a constitutional instrument or a legislative instrument to govern the exercise of discretionary power. That would have given the process predictability ahead of time. And it is mandatory. The president is not exempted from it. The only two persons or group of people who are exempted from it our judicial officers and judges. As we speak, when you are given the power, right, a discretionary power is discretionary.
For the sake of this angle of the conversation, if I may, let me read 296, and then you can continue from there, just to clarify. Yes. It says, where in this constitution, that is the 1992 constitution, or in any other law, discretionary power is vested in any person or authority. A, that discretionary power shall be deemed to imply a duty to be fair and candid. B, the exercise of the discretionary power shall not be arbitrary, capricious, or biased, whether by resentment, prejudice, or personal dislike, and shall be in accordance with due process of law. And C, where the person or authority is not a judge or other judicial officer, there shall be published by constitutional instrument or statutory instrument regulations that are not inconsistent with the provisions of this constitution or that other law to govern the exercise of this discretionary power. Has any of this been flouted?
There is no regulation in place for the exercise of the discretionary power which the president has, and that 14610. There's no such regulation in place. Now, my brother said that, my learned colleague said that, it is only reasonable that in the circumstance the Chief Justice is suspended. If the framers of the Constitution were of the view that in such a circumstance it was automatic that the Chief Justice would be suspended, it wouldn't have made that power discretionary. It would have made it mandatory.
But the fact too that it is not mandatory does not mean while the power is given to the president, again, in consulting the Council of State, they will come through with that. I'm not getting your point. The fact that it's not mandatory
if you allow me to talk, you get my point.
Okay, go ahead.
If you interrupt very respectfully, you will not get it, and you say you are not getting it.
Please go ahead and land.
It is not for nothing that discretionary power is regulated. It is regulated so that there will be certainty, there will be predictability ahead of time. So that when Benjamin Atapu, right, is facing the potential exercise of discretionary power, before it is exercised, Benjamin knows the circumstance under which it will be exercised. And so all of us as citizens will know the circumstance under which our Chief Justice will be suspended. So we sit here. We don't even know that circumstance under which the president decided to exercise that, discretionary power. It is even more necessary given the fact that this whole process is in camera. So we should not be surprised as citizens that we don't know the circumstance under which the Chief Justice will be suspended. You understand? That is the essence of Article 296 of the Constitution. Now, when there is a regulation, right, that duty could be fair and be determined whether in the circumstance of the exercise of the discretionary power there has been fairness, and that the duty imposed on the person exercising that power, in this case the president, has been performed. How do we know if it has been performed? Right? Because there is no regulation. You understand? And so, in the circumstance, right, it can be challenged. Look, we are talking about the impeachment of the Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana, right, by the executive, by the president. Okay? I mean,
let's see, these are some of the wordings that is it the president, because as far as the processes are concerned, petitions are brought, and I'll be coming back to SVT Abochi shortly. Processes are triggered by way of petitions. In fact, even before these three, we had the one from last year, Professor Kweku Azar. Processes are triggered. The law is clear. When Mr. President receives the petitions, he forwards them. The Council of State then comes through. The same way under Akufo-Addo, they said that for Professor Kweku Azar's petition, it lacked merit, and so no prima facie case was established. In this instance, a prima facie case has been established. Then the necessary process, according to the law, is the setting up of this committee to delve into the matter. And again, the president, per the Constitution, may suspend the Chief Justice. Where exactly has the illegality taken place?
What do you mean by the illegality? Because I've done a lot of analysis.
You are saying
illegality so that our
illegality, my word. Illegality, my word. Okay, not yours. But you suggest that
because you see, illegality has a definition. And so when you use the word illegality, very humbly and respectfully, right, it should be in reference to something, so that very respectfully, in responding to you, I know what area I should.
You are right. You are very right. Let me couch it this way. You seem to suggest that something has been done that should not have been done, or at least there's some problem with the process. I just want you to pinpoint for me. That's why I went back to some of these processes.
The lack of regulations to underpin the exercise of discretionary power. Nobody has been able to deny the fact that there is no regulations. Nobody is denying the fact that under Article 296 of the Constitution, a regulation is required. Nobody is denying the fact that under Article 146(10) of the Constitution, the President is exercising a discretionary power. So in the circumstance, right, it should be exercised in consonance with 296. Right? The fundamental question that we all need to answer is whether the absence of the regulation makes it fatal. My submission is that it is fatal. Some have stated that the case of Ransford France, the Assistant Attorney General and the Electoral Commission, right, doesn't make it fatal. I say that it is even made more fatal on the basis of the case of Ransford France versus Attorney General, where Dr. Barth categorically stated that in quasi-judicial matters, there is the need for a regulation. And this is a quasi-judicial matter. Why is it a quasi-judicial matter? It is a quasi-judicial matter because it's a semblance of a court proceedings where a prima facie is being determined, where, very respectfully, a suspension is being done. And I will explain to you in very basic terms. Benjamin Akpapo, very respectfully, works at Joy FM. Benjamin Akpapo, right, have been a complaint has been lodged against Mr. Benjamin Akpapo, right, for some misconduct. Okay? Now, Mr. Benjamin Akpapo, right, is being suspended on the basis of that. When Joy FM has laid down procedure that requires that there should be a regulation in place before the suspension can be done. This is simple employer relationship. Ask every lawyer. In the absence of that regulation, the court will find that the interdiction or the suspension, right, constitutes or is an unfair one. That is even based. You don't even elevate it to the constitutional level. We are talking about the constitution of the land, where the established principle is that no man has the power or immunity. No court, even in this land, has the power to grant immunity for the breach of a statute, particularly the Constitution. Do you understand?
So what you're saying, just so we can move the conversation forward. So what you're saying is that it's not that the president couldn't have triggered Article 146(10), but that it should have been in consonance with Article 296. That's what you're saying.
It should have been in consonance with Article 296.
And you're saying devoid of that.
The ingredients or the elements that would be necessary to satisfy Article 296, right, are not in place.
Okay. Just in passing, you said something about what brought us here. The president, I don't think you used the word removing, but you seem to suggest that it was the president, technically doing this.
That was your interest. So no. So let's even go there.
What word did you use? Because you seem to suggest.
Then I appreciate the point. Let's even go there.
That it was the president doing this. That's why I went to the Council of State and the rest.
When there is a petition, in the case of the Chief Justice, right, is the president that initiates it. And that is why when you look at the communication that came out, the president stated that he has received the petition, right, for the removal of the Chief Justice. First step. Second step, he has commenced the necessary constitutional consultation with the Council of State. Second step. So without the president's steps, the Council of State doesn't even come in. So the president has a role in this. Okay. And that role, yes, mandatory, right? And so even when we say that the president has commenced the impeachment processes, it is not out of place. I'm not out of line.
All right.
Okay. Before we go to Nana Kofi Safo Kantanka, I just want, because of some of the words you use, I just want to get some clarity on it. So you say this is an impeachment. It suggests an impeachment of the Chief Justice. And then you said something about definitions. But I want to take you back to the letter that the minority put out in response to this action, where you say this is a judicial coup. Because you emphasized on the definitions of some of the words we're using right now, I want to understand the elements of, because I think the cardinal value of the coup, or the definition
we need to distinguish between politics and law.
Hold on a second.
Do you want me to speak to politics or do you want me to speak to law?
You know, in as much as these are legal provisions, I know that there's political commentary running on the back of it, because at the end of it, this is a minority in parliament. This is NPP, NDC. So I just want to get the understanding clearly. So hold on for me. Let me ask my question. Hold on a second. So I'm saying that where in the processes that you just outlined suggests a coup, bearing in mind that the definition of a coup, the cardinal value of that definition of a coup means it's unlawful.
The processes I outlined, right, are legal, is law. And let me stick to the law. Okay. If you want me to go into politics, you can invite me into politics and we'll do politics.
This is not politics.
On this program.
Yes. We are discussing the issue in totality. Just give me a second. The minority has written a letter, strongly worded letter, right, in response to this. And they use the word coup, a judicial coup. I just want to understand from your perspective, what elements in the processes that's, you know, at this point in the processes so far, signals a coup, a judicial coup. You cannot just say, you can't use a word like that. And I just want clarity, really.
The prior commentary leading to this process, the prior commentary, that's why I said I don't want to go into politics, because we are two lawyers. The other lawyer is not a politician. And so I wanted to be as a lawyer as possible. But if you want to go into politics, then this is the politics. The prior commentary before this suggests or is evidence of a predetermined mind by the ruling government to remove the Chief Justice. Right? And that is what is happening. Now, the president himself, in my preliminary comment, I stated it. The president himself made several comments to that effect. The chairman of the NDC, right? The most senior person of the NDC is the president. He has made those comments. After the president, the chairman of the NDC, Mr. Johnson also stated that the Chief Justice will be removed, right? After him is the General Secretary, the Deputy General Secretary, Mr. Musa Fagbande, has also made the same statement, okay? And so that clearly shows a politically predetermined agenda to remove the Chief Justice. Right?
Is this not politics? Is this still law? If you're bringing in the commentary from political actors as a way of...
Very respectfully.
Yeah.
Very respectfully.
I thought we're sticking to the interpretation of the law and educating the audience.
Are you now running away from your own question? Because I direct very respectfully, with the greatest of respect, before going this tangent, I cautioned you. And you still invited me. And I've done that for you. And you're now asking me, is this still politics? Why?
Okay,
you want to set a trap for me?
No, I'm not setting a trap for you. What we are doing is...
Let's mix. I think at this point, if we want to separate law and politics, sweetie, it's interesting, right? So let's mix them together.
See,
okay?
We cannot discuss one without the other.
Let's mix them. Let's form an amalgam, right? Yes. Let's proceed on this level. I find it interesting that you talk about a predetermined mind, because you know that in criminal law, that has quite some consequences, right? In some respects, if a mens rea is determined. But these people you speak of, yes, you speak of Johnson Esidu Nketia, the chairman of the party, Mustafa Gbande, among others, stalwarts of the NDC, correct?
Yes.
Very prominent figures, correct?
Yes.
With a high level of influence, correct?
Yes. Well, am I under cross-examination?
No, you are not. But
okay.
But with all this influence,
where are you leading me to?
You will find out shortly. With all this influence, are they in any way a part of the process that we are seeing? Whether as Council of State, please hold for me. Please hold for me, because the court of public opinion or individual opinion is out there, and as a lawyer, you know that the court of public opinion and the court of law are two separate things. Public opinion is not supposed to and does not and should not influence a case in court or in any such situation. Is that true or not? Just give me a yes or no before you go on.
So please, let me answer you very respectfully, then we move on. You know, Shakespeare says, there's no art to tell the mind's construction on the human face. Right? And as students of literature, we all know that if you want to know what a person is thinking or who a person is, it's about what the person said, right? Or what others say about him. Now, we will not know what the position of the NDC is unless their corporate representatives have spoken. The person that represents the NDC in the corporate scheme of affairs is the chairman of the NDC, is their deputy general secretary. The NDC is not a human being. When these people speak, they speak for the NDC and they speak the mind of the NDC. That said, who is the chairman of the Council of State? The chairman of the Council of State is the retired Right Honorable Do Ajaho, a full-blue NDC man. Go and check the record of Mr. Do Ajaho, Speaker of Parliament. Go and check whether or not he was partisan and draw your own conclusion. Go and check.
Okay, so pardon my interjection. Yes, I will allow you. But pardon my interjection. Pardon my interjection.
Check the composition of the Council of State.
To be fair to Do Ajaho.
My brother, wait. You say you want us to mix politics and law. Go and check the composition of the Council of State. Look, when the Council of State elections were held in the Ashanti region, right, and Nana Nkansa was close to winning the election, what happened? The NDC was determined to ensure that the Council of State would be truly dominated by the NDC where they have control, right? Because the composition of the Council of State, some are ex-official positions, but where they have control, they will make sure that the persons are determined by the persons from their womb. Okay, so the makeup of the Council of State is predominantly NDC. And the chairman of the NDC's position, you all know, the chairman of the NDC's second cabinet. So this is a predetermined partisan position which is being executed.
So very quickly before we bring in Kwejoga Adawudu, but very quickly, you mentioned Do Ajaho, of course, who has been a Speaker of Parliament. Are you saying that these people, when they come in, they cannot reason beyond politics? Because we apply the same standards to our justices of our courts as well. And someone would also say to you that hold for me. Someone would also say that former member of a member of the Council of State.
Hello?
Yes. Let me just land. Someone would also point to you that there's been Sam Okujato, a respected lawyer, statesman, if you like, and his rhetoric in the past seems to suggest, as some people have said, that he leans this way on the political sphere. Would you say that if he, at the time he was on the Council of State, if such an issue came, he would be partisan about it? Because then that's what you're suggesting with.
I will not be speculative on Mr. Sam Okujato. I will not. Mr. Sam Okujato.
But you can be speculative on Do Ajaho.
Listen, I am a lawyer, very respectfully. When I am going to court, I will have to know the mind of the judge. When the jury trial, I will do an analysis of the jury, and I'm saying that I am profiling the Council of State in a matter the best person I will profile is Mr. Do Ajahu. How would I know the thinking or the disposition of Mr. Do Ajahu? Very respectfully, is he a moderate? Is he an extremist? To be able to determine his position, I'll go back to his parliamentary records, because that is where I'll go through his profile. When you go through his profile, Mr. Do Ajahu was a public servant, having worked at the Attorney General's office. Right from there, he went to Parliament on the ticket of the NDC. Right there, he rose to become the majority leader, if I'm not mistaken. Subsequently, he became the second deputy speaker also, right? And later on, he became the speaker. If you recall the WikiLeaks, right? One of the things that came out from the WikiLeaks was that a former foreign minister of this country, on the ticket of the NDC in the name of Madam Hamatete.
Okay, I think now we are going pretty far, and we have
profiling. I'm profiling. I am profiling.
Okay, so please land on the profiling so we can move to Kwejoga.
No, you see, stated that even though Madam Bamford Addo is the Chief Justice, it will be the Speaker of Parliament. When it comes to very partisan matters, they will bring in Mr. Do Ajahu. This will tell me who Mr. Do Ajahu is.
Okay, so I guess it permanently takes away his ability to reason through matters. It must always be partisan. That is the point you're making. Sweetie, let's bring in Kwejoga Daudu.
Yes, so thank you for joining the conversations. And by all means, give us your initial reaction. But this is my substantive questions to you. 2 points before I get to the question. So, Lawyer Bafwewa is saying that, well, like Shakespeare said, there's no way to show the mind's construction on the face, because political actors from the camp of the NDC have said things that suggest that this might be a personal vendetta against the Chief Justice. My question is, does it affect the process? This is like an intersection between words and action. The action that we are seeing following due process versus the rhetoric or commentary pouring in from both political parties. Where do we draw the line?
Thank you, Siti, and good morning to your viewers and listeners. You know, I carefully listened to my junior brother, Bafwewa. You know, this is what they do, and his argument is flawed. If you look at it, he never talks about the law. All he's talking about politics. So,
to be fair, we started with the law, and somehow we got into politics. So he did mention some, yeah.
So if I also try to tell you asked him a question about my own grand uncle, Sam Okujeto, and he said he was not going to speculate. But he could profile somebody, but could not profile it. This is what we do. When we always say it is political, everybody knows everybody's intentions, everybody where he belongs. So if you want to pigeonhole, so how did my brother Bafo got to the University Council of KNUST, and no other person got there until the change of cabinet? So if you want to pigeonhole and profile, then everybody would say because you belong to this place, that's why. But this one, it is the law that dictates the procedure. And I think that we have just followed the procedure.
So are you saying that the commentary doesn't affect the procedure in any way?
At all. At all. Yes.
But it does carry some weight, does it not?
A procedure, and that procedure is being followed. And this is not the first time that procedure is being followed. With the outset of the Fourth Republic, we have seen almost all the Chief Justices or some of the Superior Court Justices going through that process. It got to a point when there is no prima facie case established, the process is truncated. If it's a prima facie case established against the group of people who that article governs the procedure, it goes on. We have seen Chief Justice Akwa has gone through that process. That brought about the case of Ejetu. We have seen there has been a petition against Chief Justice Wood, Georgina Wood, which did not go through. There has been a petition against Chief Justice Sophia Akufu that the president, at the end of the day, did not act on. We saw a process removal against Chief Justice Enim Yeboah. There was a process against Chief Justice Tokonu, which the president said no prima facie case has been, and this is another process. So almost all the Chief Justice and Superior Court have gone through, and it was the same Article 146 that went through the process. But if he now wants to pigeonhole and bring in about political actors, yes, I agree with him at a point. What people say, political actors say, and if it eventually comes to pass, that is when people would say, yes, this is what they said, and this is what has come to pass. Of which I don't ascribe to, that when you are a leader or you find yourself in a political space, what you say would come and haunt you.
All right, Mr. Adawudu, quick interjection. Mr. Adawudu,
yes.
Quick interjection. Benjamin here. On the other hand, while I have, made mention of the fact that the law is what it is, and all of these people who may be speaking from party angles are not a part of the process. On the other hand, what does it do for the optics when people as prominent as a chairman of a party and some deputies, also wade into it and speak openly about the fact that, if you want to put it mildly, it serves her right, and that this may actually come to pass. What does it do in terms of the process?
Yes, exactly. That is, sometimes it doesn't help the process. Because, yes, you can see that this is the process. And for me, where I sit and where the law sits is that nobody knows the content of the petition. Even up to this stage, nobody knows the content of the.
I have heard some people on some networks claim to know certain things and sums of money used here and this and that. In fact, there's a broadcaster, and I don't know, that's where leaks and all of that come into the fray, who are seemingly analyzed about 3 or 4 of them. How did that happen? So if you say nobody, it appears some people do.
Yes, if they do, the law says that you don't need, the petitioner cannot make it public. And once it's even given to the president and the committee, the content cannot be made public. So I'm sure there's speculation, conjecture, and they may have gone in to see, maybe when they are talking about some money, maybe something has been captured in the auditor's report, which is in public domain. So if people go to find out few things that may have happened in the auditor's report and say that this is what they think will be the content of the petition, I'm sure by where the president is with advice he's going to get from the council to the president and council of state, there's no way that content could be made out to the public. So, yes, I agree that sometimes when the political actors, what they say and where they belong to and they speak, it makes things difficult. It makes the process. But at the end of the day, it is the law that dictates the process and what has to be done. People should understand that this is suspension. It was a discretion granted the president that he may, while the committee is formed, may suspend. He can decide not to suspend. But I'm sure the advice and in the wisdom that has been provided and as advised to him, he feels that she should be suspended. It doesn't mean that she's guilty or not. It is now that the process is going to be opened up. And once the process is opened up, she will be granted a lawyer of her choice and any other aspect of her choice when she's giving, or as she's been given. And I'm sure she has also prepared to go to the committee and meet them. So let's allow the process to go on. Unfortunately, you say that the Council of State, we have the former Chief Justice over there. So I would say the former Chief Justice is an NDC because she was appointed.
Right.
Again, so once we try to pigeonhole people, when it comes that there are people who also have to be profiled, as he said, he was profiling, they always want to seek the goalpost. And I think that, yes, it is granted because they are in politics, they are political actors, they have devotees, they have the grassroots, and they want to speak to a target audience.
Quick point. We're trying to do law here, not politics, as much as possible. I'll cede to Sweetie Abochi shortly, but I just had to come through with this. Lawyer Bafwe has said that, and it may not necessarily be on this show, on UTV, he said that this was unconstitutional, what was happening. In fact, if I may quote what he said, suspension of the Chief Justice is unconstitutional, he said. And he shared some thoughts on 146 linked to other articles of the Constitution. Martin Kwebu, when I listened to him yesterday, he made mention of the fact that previously, and some said he was being political or because it was Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo as president, had made mention of some of these processes and how the executive had become too powerful and maybe it could be weaponized. Is it high time we decouple the executive, our presidency, from some of these issues to avert some of what we are talking about? Oh, party members said this, so likely it is that channel that is being followed. Do we have to decouple the presidency or the executive from some of these processes so that it appears more neutral? What do you think? That's my bid to you for now.
Yes. I think that we have, as people, we have decided that we want to do constitutional democracy, and the Constitution is what guides us. If it is the view that we have practiced, we have used this Constitution for the past 30 years, and it is not serving us well, or there something has to be done by the procedure, I'm sure the Constitutional Review Committee is working, and we should put a memoranda or put the ideas together so that they can have it and look at it, that we think that the process by which the president can be removed, we think that it is obsolete, it is outdated, but to say it's unconstitutional, I totally disagree. That is the Constitution that we are following. And if we have to do a review, thank God, the committee, which is chaired by Professor Prempe, they are working, and we can put it before them that we think that it should be more tighter, safer, and the procedure by which justices of the Superior Court will be.
Mr. Dawudu, for the sake of time, I think your point is made. Sweetie?
You know what they say, Ben? Justice must not only be done, but to be seen to be done. And the optics are very important, because when you have political actors, like yesterday I listened to Dr. Tanko Kompita saying that they are happy about this suspension and all that. Perception shape actions, inactions, and all that. And so the judiciary must be seen as a strong arm of government. And if we are, pouring these commentaries in as much as it doesn't affect constitutional processes, I think we should be circumspect. The question I want to ask, what does this do to that case in the Supreme Court? We're supposed to hear, I think they were supposed to sit on the 6th of May. What does the suspension do to the case?
Sidi, I think that the Constitution grants power to all branches of the government. It has granted power to the president what he should do. The same Constitution grants power to the Supreme Court what they should do. So I'm sure they will do what the law allows them to do.
Yesterday, I listened to Justice Ramsay, and he says that only when the case has actually been heard in court on a particular case or an active application can it stop a constitutional process. I'm trying to understand whether or not this case has been, nullified, or if it's still an active case, because the Chief Justice has been suspended at this point.
At the end of the day, interpretation of the Constitution is within the comfort and province of the Supreme Court. So I'm sure the case, the Supreme Court can look at it and say that it has become moot, or we think that there is a point that may come with the procedure that we are talking about that we don't think it is serving us. So the Supreme Court can say that, yes, we can take on this matter and make sure we fine-tune the procedure by which any justices or the Chief Justice can be removed, just as they did in Chief Justice Akwa's time by coming with the J2. So the court will decide in its wisdom whether we will continue and fine-tune the process or we would just terminate this. But I think the suspension of the Chief Justice does not make a removal total until they go through the process. So it will be the Supreme Court that will decide what they want to do.
Okay. And two last questions. I'll just lump them into one. I've heard other lawyers say that to save face, the Chief Justice should just resign so that all this can just go smoothly without the ruckus we are causing right now. And the second bit would be, okay, do you agree that the Chief Justice should resign at this point to save face?
That is a decision for her to take. I think that what she has served and the number of years that has to be served, she's done. And I think that for her, if that is her peace, that will bring her peace and go untainted. And I think that is an option for her to exercise. Also, another option for her is to say that, no, I think that I have to stand and I haven't done anything I'm being accused of. And I need to prove my point that I am clean. Nothing untoward has happened. And at the end of the day, whilst I have cleared my image and everything, I can make a move. So I think it's entirely a decision for her and her family to make.
And because there's a pending case, do you think that the president should have waited a bit to, see how that case is concluded before proceeding with the suspension? In fact, are we jumping the gun over here? I listened to one of the lawyers on Newsfile over the weekend and said we shouldn't jump the gun. Is that what is happening here? Are we jumping the gun?
No. I don't think so. It is a power given to the president under the Constitution, and he has exercised his power. So that power is exercised. The judiciary also has been given powers to exercise. Parliament has been given powers to exercise. So if all are exercised in accordance with the Constitution, there is nothing wrong to say.
But these powers don't come with timelines. I guess is the thought I have now. A little delay would not have affected the case in any way, affected the removal or suspension in any way, would it have?
Let me maybe take you back. When the Supreme Court in the Muntie case exercised their power, and another power has been given to the president, and he says that I'm giving parole to the people. They all exercised their powers. And at the end of the day, it was right. They did the right thing in accordance with the Constitution. So I always say the law grants everybody. It depends on how it is used that the perception will look at it that it's being done for good or it's being done for evil.
Right.
But what the law dictates is what is being done.
Mr. Safo Kantanka, let me come to you. I am curious about your take on the committee that has been formed. And let me just take a few seconds to walk you through this. So Justice Bafo-Bonny, who is now acting as Chief Justice, is the oldest on the Apex Court, brought in 2008, came in with the likes of Justice Eni Nyabwa and some others who have now gone on retirement. This was under Kufuor. He was the deciding factor in the 5/4/2012 election petition loss for the MPP's Akufo-Addo then. And all of this has been brought into the fray because his wife is also Patience Bafo-Bonny, someone who has done some 30 plus years at the prison service. The claim is that, politics came in and she wasn't given certain roles. She's now Director General of the Ghana Prisons at Service. That is Bafo-Bonny. Then you get to Daniel Yao Domelevo, who also had that infamous case where later his request to proceed on leave was deemed illegal. Interestingly, that declaration of illegality was done under Gertrude Tokonu, the now suspended CJ. You have the next in line when you look at the committee, Justice Gabriel Scott Pwamwang. He's Justice of the Supreme Court, and he is next in line by way of age on the bench or time served. Then you have Justice Samuel Kwame Adibu Asiedu, and then you have Major Flora, and then Professor Sefa Jisa. When you look at the composition, some have said that the likes of Justice Bafo-Bonny, who is acting as CJ, the likes of Daniel Yao Domelevo, there could be some influence there. What do you see from those angles?
Yes, I think that's very telling. Yes, my comment on it also buttresses the point of the optics not being good. Yes, and the colorization we've been talking about. You see, having Mr. Yao Domelovo on the committee sends some signal, because the commentaries we've been hearing is that having Yao Domelovo on the committee connotes some sense of a payback time.
But I also just mentioned that it was under Gertrude Tokonu, wasn't it, that this illegality was actually proclaimed, that his being asked to proceed on leave was illegal. It started, I believe, under Justice Enini Abuas, then Chief Justice, and ended with Gertrude Tokonu. And it was under Gertrude Tokonu that it was deemed illegal. What would that do?
You see, the pronouncement of it being legal, I would say, is neither here nor there. The point being pushed is that, fine, the Supreme Court thought it was illegal, but then the timing, why wasn't it declared illegal earlier for Yao Domelovo to be to have his way? But then the commentaries we've been hearing is that, fine, it was delayed and all that, and now even you see the Yao Domelovo won, but then it looks as if it's a pre-victory for him. So he being on the panel now, it suggests that it is a payback time.
So you're suggesting that if he has an axe to grind, this would be a good place to grind it. But this is someone who has served nationally, internationally. You're saying that you don't think he can reason beyond his feelings, his emotions, his hurt?
Yes, you see, that is beyond a point. And the point is we are advancing is the optics. If you just staying by the optics and then the previous comments and now bringing him on board. You see, you remember last year during the Supreme Court hearing, when the judges were empaneled to hear the case in relation to the vacant seat, the NDC or the speaker, the lawyer for the speaker, raised an objection to one of the justices. The fact that he has been a parliamentary candidate of the New Patriotic Party before. One would also say, is he not a qualified justice of the Supreme Court to sit on the matter? And for that matter, there are other Supreme Court judges. So what can he do? What else can he do? He being just one person. So we are talking about the optics. The same principle applies.
Let's do the same optics for Justice Bafubone. Brought in under Kufuor in 2012, ruled he was the deciding factor in Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia losing their election petition. How about him? What do you see there?
Yes. Beyond that, the commentaries we've been hearing, if that is true, from other media, is that Akufo-Addo hounded him, was on him whether he will resign and all that from people whose words carry weight. Do you get it? Yes, we've been hearing issues about the relationship between Bafubone and Akufo-Addo. He telling him whether would he resign. He's been on him several years and all that, and then bringing him on board as the acting Chief Justice. Fine. You see, he's the senior most on the party. So for his part, I won't comment so much because he's the next senior most on the bench, and automatically he would be the acting Chief Justice. Automatically, for his side, I have no much comment to say on that. But then the panel, in respect of Yao Domelovo, if the issue, the petition, some of the issues embedded in the three petitions has got to do with some sort of auditing, I will ask, can't there be any auditor in the country to replace Yao Domelovo for the sake of the optics and the previous comments? That's all. Okay, so
we are ending the conversation, but the same analogy you made when that justice of the court was brought in, and some people said he was a former MPP parliamentary candidate, and you said that, are we saying that for the sake of that, he can't, sit on the case? I could throw same to you that because Daniel Yao Domelovo had this incident with the judiciary, are we saying that he can't be a member of the committee, logically? But that's a question that we can all answer. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining the conversation. Sweetie?
Yes, I just wanted to get a quick reaction from you. Do you think the Chief Justice should resign, yes or no?
No. She shouldn't resign.
All right, she should fight it. Fight on. All right, great. Thank you all so much.
And there's one last thing I completely forgot. So let me just put this out there. Any one of you that wants to answer, 30 seconds for that person, only one person. apart from clearing your name, and we saw that with James Jachikwason, for example, when he turned down the current AG's, olive branch to terminate that case. He wanted to clear his name. Apart from wanting to clear her name, the Chief Justice, I mean, if I say this cautiously, if it got to the point of a removal, if we got there, what would it take away from her in terms of what is due her legally? Any answer to that? Any of you want to hazard something? That's the very last question. Any of you?
Let me say this. The office of the Chief Justice need not be personalized. And so when you are in that office, you don't fight for yourself, but you also fight for the office and ultimately the Constitution.
Right.
And so for those who are saying that the Chief Justice should resign, they are personalizing and reducing the Chief Justice to follow. It is the office for posterity. It's for posterity. If we are not careful, this will repeat again.
All right, I get that point, but please, I get the concept of the office, but I'm saying personally, what happens? Do you lose any benefits in any way? Do you lose anything materially or otherwise?
It's not something I've affected my mind to.
Okay, all right. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining the conversation. We had Nana J. Bafwe. He's a lawyer, also member of parliament for Manchia South. We had Nana Kofisa for Kantanka, a lawyer as well, and Kwejoga Adawudu, also a lawyer. Sweetie.
Well, thank you. You want to stick and stay with us. There's still so much more coming your way. And you know that we do a review of the 2025 Kwewu Business Forum today. We'll take a look at the fallout and how we want to handle that going forward as a nation. Please stay. The AM show is sponsored by Waylead Properties, providing quality housing at affordable cost with flexible payment options. Are you thinking of a rewarding investment you can engage in? Then Waylead Company Limited is your preferred choice for such investment. Waylead Company Limited is a real estate company with several developments to its credit right here in Accra. And you want to invest in Willow Lane. It's their new development where elegance meets tranquility. And they provide quality housing, like I mentioned earlier, with affordable costs and flexible payment options. At Waylead Properties, you get 24-hour security, reliable power supply, and other social amenities to make your stay a memorable one. I know you want to call us, so here are the numbers: 0240-111-119 or 0504-499-999. You can also visit our website at www.waylead.org. We'll take a quick break. When we return, more action on the AM show. Members who planned this whole forum. How was it?
Thank you. It was fulfilling. We knew that the program was going to be a success even before the day. The Friday before the Easter week, that's on the 11th of April, I happened to have gone to Kwewu as part of the recce to meet some Kwewu local FM station management to discuss what was about to happen the following week and the need for support and collaboration. And to my utmost surprise, at Ago FM, the management told us that OPK, that's Davis Opoko, as the MP for Empriso, had in the morning before my arrival in the afternoon gone on air to canvass for Kwewu Business Forum and asking all Kwewu businessmen and businesswomen to look for it, and that the Chief of Staff has announced in Accra that the President is coming and they should all gather there and meet the financial institutions for a deeper collaboration. That, for me, a week before the Good Friday, portended to me that the program was going to be a huge success. And 5 days to the day itself, the ticketing had been oversubscribed. We had to shut down the website column that had to deal with book your ticket here, because we could not contain the numbers.
Okay.
So,
well, then let's start with attendance. You had the IFC, Exim Bank, African Development Bank. I'm sure you sent out invitations to all these entities and they came. What does their presence do to the forum? And mind you, it started as a John Mahama thing, NDC thing. Now, because it's a ruling government, or it's the party in government now, it has a more nationalistic approach to it. What does the presence of these international banks and financial institutions do to this forum?
Oh, it speaks volumes as to the capacity that the Ghanaian business community have, which we are yet to let it come to light, that in holding a business summit in Ghana, you can attract international financial institutions to be in attendance, to engage with the business community, to show them their new policies or products for which the Ghanaian business community can take advantage of. For example, it came to light at the program that the International Finance Corporation of the World Bank, IFC, has new products of giving not less than $5 million facility to businesses that have PPP arrangement with the government of any country. So even if you have Sweetie and Daughters Company Limited and you have a contract to do with the government of Ghana, you can appeal to the IFC and get support to execute the contract and people. So all these came to light and they were beautiful. African Development Bank was there to also open up their space to the Ghanaian business community. We attracted businesses that were even beyond the Kou enclave, even though the original idea was to attract the Kou businessmen. Last year it was, purely Kou businessmen.
I'm actually curious. Why Kwewu? Why Kwewu businessmen? Why do you go all the way to Kwewu?
Okay, as the president explained, this whole concept came up as a result of a discussion between the president and his chief of staff last year. Yes, Honorable Julius Zebra, that the president wanted to celebrate Easter in Kou, but he wanted to also have some meetings alongside. And then the chief of staff then brought the idea that why don't I mobilize all my business people together and have a business summit, discuss their challenges, and you write down those that you think you can find solutions to the problems. And so as soon as you become president, you then begin the steps towards resolution of the problems. So that's how the first business forum came about. Now, the man is president and his chief of staff is the chief of staff. So it now takes a public, outlook. So now public interest has to be put in place. And that's how come that he had a minority leader, Fanyomake himself, in spite of his rabble-rousing in parliament, being attendance and advising how entrepreneurship must be, excluded from partisanship. And that the country stands to benefit if business is separated from politics and partisanship. And having all the MPs and MPP members, financiers all coming around. And having businessmen from Ashanti, wherever, all being attended.
So let's get into the meat of the issue proper. In terms of the fallouts from the forum, let's start from the president. Some of the statements that he made about bridging the gap between businesses and banks.
That's right.
Exactly what does this look like? And what gap is it hoping to fix?
Okay. Currently, the financial institutions in the country have their policies that they design through management and they roll it out. Businesses have their interest as to how they can be able to take some of the funds from the banks or the financial institutions to also roll out their business interests and make some profit. Now, there's been always a clash as to what the products of the banks are and what the business interests are. After every AGM, annual general meeting, here of the high interest of high cases of bad loans and all that, and businesses are being charged or being accused of not being responsible. People take loans they don't want to pay. Even Momo, people take Momo and they don't.
Change their numbers.
They change them and they don't want to pay and all that. So there's a need to bridge the gap because every country needs the private sector to be bubbling in order for the country to have the economy growing steadily. Government cannot do it all. So we need the private sector to come in. Private sector also need the funds of the banks in order for them to thrive. So here the president's intention is that last year, parts of the problems that you listed included lack of access to funds or flexible funds or cheap funds. So here's the case. I'm bringing the banks closer to you. Have interactions. You have the whole day and 2 days to talk, to interact, and get the banks to start the process of coming up with new products that will meet your needs. So during the interaction, the forum, part of the thing that they came up was that some of the traders, especially those in the Bafsukai and so on, want the banks to relax the time which they start collecting their proceeds. So they want a moratorium. That I've come for a facility of, say, I came for 2 million Ghana cedi to do a certain business. Then following month, after collecting the money, I don't need to have to pay you something out of the money that you have given me.
Because it's just a month after.
Exactly. But that's
you couldn't have turned it around in a month.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that is the problem. So they are saying that, okay, can we come together? Let's say that you give me 6 months. 6 months, I will have, even I'm importing car parts from South Korea or China or Japan. The 6 months, my product will have come. I will have cleared them at the port using your money. I will have brought them to my shop at Abusukai. I will have started selling.
Yeah.
And
whatever
then,
seed I sowed, it should have germinated.
And then I can begin the process. So they want a certain moratorium. That's a new thing that came up, and which the chief of staff, in fact, the president directed. In his closing remarks delivered by the Chief of Staff, Honorable Julius Zebra, the President directed that the economic advisor, Honorable Setekpe, must take responsibility for the outcome of the Coal Business Forum and ensure implementation of policies towards that.
Which means these fallouts, these highlights are going to be translated into policies.
Yes, so the government will going forward, engage the banks behind the scene as to how to arrange the moratorium, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, a year, and how government can come in to cushion the gap so that the banks will feel confident in allowing the moratorium period to come in, or whether government has to come in to give the banks some guarantees before the moratorium will be granted, and then the business community will have the flexibility of administering the funds that they've taken from the financial institutions. And then by 6 months' time or 3 months' time or whatever that agreement will be, they can then begin paying back the facility.
I'm just curious, before I go on to the next question, how was the reaction of businesses when these came out? Like even the president directing that it should be translated into a policy and all that. How did they react to that?
Oh, it was a good news for the business community. They were looking for it. Look, there was a young man who had a certain business proposal of doing irrigation farming and all that stuff, and he spoke at the forum. Immediately, the Minister for Trade, Industry and Agribusiness immediately adopted him.
When you say adopted him?
Adopted that Agric Development Bank at the forum, adopted him based on the minister. In fact, Agric Development announced it and the minister supported it. And he was quickly adopted and his documents were taken immediately. That's yes, Kojo was sitting in there when it happened. Okay. I'm sure you have footages for you very soon. And immediately that gentleman's vision of going to agric and agribusiness began the process of materialization. So it's been overwhelming. All the videos that we have seen, the banks themselves looks like they were craving for an opportunity like that to meet the business community. Yeah. Where we are not having a trade fair per se, but we are having a fair of banks, businesses meeting, looking at what you are doing, you looking at what products we have, and the one that suits you for it to be tailored towards you. It was a beautiful program.
What kind of businesses attended? And I'm asking this because the world of work has evolved. What typically would be called work or business a decade or two ago is not the same. These days we have social media influencers who created a whole business out of their digital presence. And we have the gig economy where someone can just call you, like we presenters, to do something for me. It's not really a business until you formalize, you've registered with GRA and all that. Did you make provisions for these types of evolving businesses at the forum?
Yes, the forum opened up for people with business ideas, people with fresh thinking into the space, for them to try to meet the banks and for the banks to turn their ideas into bankable projects. So the idea was for the banks to listen to young men with some of these fresh ideas and see how they can bring them in, coach them, and then give them how the procedure for which reason they will follow to get access to funds.
Turn an idea into money-making
exactly
for you. So you had some of these, new forms of workers. Or
your colleague Kojansen followed one of them. They were two young men with an IT software engineering, product that they wanted to pitch with the banks. And Kojansen followed them through, and it was in a documentary. Maybe I'm taking the wind out of his sail. But he followed them through. His plan was to follow them through to the end and get to know what, and want to do a documentary for you guys.
We can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
Now, something Akwenyo Makin said, that will be our final angle for the conversation. He's talking about depoliticizing entrepreneurship from politics. Like decoupling politics from entrepreneurship. Do you think that that's one of our challenges in this country in terms of entrepreneurship and how we hope to thrive and become the drivers of the economy? Is that an actual problem?
Yes.
Tell me more.
Antecedents of this country have been businesses suffering as a result of being seen as anti-government. The military era, from the first military coup, some businesses suffered, and that culture continued until recent past, where democratic dispensation came, and then yet within the democratic dispensation, people's business are targeted. They use all manner of technical reasons, some flimsy and all that, to deny them their licenses to operate or to shut them down for a reason or the other. Now, so Akwenyo Makin's statement that we must take away politics from entrepreneurship is spot on. I hope that the mood that the President John Mahama has created for free expression, for free enterprise, will continue, that we will not have a revocation of a license of any company for no just cause. Any revocation that must be done must be of, prime,
justified.
Public interest, and that we will support. We hope that Akwenyo Makin in the near future will stand by his words and ensure that any attempt by his side of the political divide to witch hunt any business, he will stand up to it and protect the interest of the business. That way, every businessman in the country will have confidence to reinvest his money, and then the country will make the profits thereof. It is the business community that will continue to expand and employ. When they expand and employ, they will pay taxes to the state. The young men and young women on the streets will then be put into work, and they will get their monthly income, or by monthly income, they would take care of their parents or their wives and their children, so that we will not have such social challenges thereof.
I hear you on that, because I know some young people who are just starting up with their own businesses, and they are scared to death to, declare support for one party or the other. They want to remain as neutral as possible, because you don't know who's coming in next and what they might do to you just because you're affiliated to another party.
Exactly.
Well, I think it's a good thing you're doing. It's commendable. So you're sure that this is not political, it's not an NDC thing, it's nationalistic, and it's going to stay even beyond this current administration's term?
Yes, that was one of the promises that Akwenyo Makin made, that he is giving his assurance that this is apolitical and that the next MPP administration will continue with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wish you all the very best. What will be your final word for us as we wrap up?
We hope that the Co-Business Forum will not be the only business forum in the country. We are hoping that other business fora will come upstream, so that we connect more with the banking sector. If you look at how our market women especially get facilities to do their business, they are going to the Shylocks in the system. And because of some barriers that the banks themselves put, collateral and all that, all those things, that inhibits their chances of getting facilities for them. So you want to bridge the gap, gradually. Yeah.
So when's the next one?
For now, Co-Business Forum 2026 will come on.
Okay, we're looking.
The president has promised that.
All right. Benjamin Esuman is a member of the working committee Kwewu Business Forum, and we're just putting out some highlights from that forum and the second edition, which was a success according to him. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Coming up next, we'll bring you the next installment of our feature series, Breaking the Fire Cycle. Now, in November 2024, a devastating fire swept through Agbogbloshie's Bola town area, and it reduced so many wooden structures to ashes. Unlike the victims of the Edum PZ and Kantamanto market fires, residents of Agbogbloshie Bola Down have had no help at all, not from governments, not from corporate organizations, not from CSOs, and they are struggling to rebuild their life from the ruins of that fire. I visited them, and I have today's installment of Breaking the Fire Cycle. Enjoy.
Have been destroyed by the fire because most of the structures here were made out of wood.
At 10 p.m. on November 24th, 2024, here at Bola Top Down in Agbogbloshie, fire started from right here in this corner and raised down several structures, all the way going back miles from where I'm standing right now. Lives were not destroyed, but means of livelihood were. Abdulaziz lives right behind me, and he was one of the first victims of that fire. He lost his house, and this is his story.
It was unexpected. I was asleep. Then before I realized fire, I stood up. I saw that fire is burning. Fire was burning around my house. So me too, I shout fire. I lose my everything. Even in my house, like 18 rooms, all burned. The whole business with me I do for the year, or I sold everything on the 24th of November. Morning time, yes. I sold everything, evening time, the whole thing burned. Even the money, almost getting to 500 million. Everything.
500 million is how much?
Yes, 50,000 Ghana cedis. Everything burned. As I'm standing here right now, I don't have nothing to do. I had to sleep outside. If you like, you come and see my stretcher. People are the one helping me to do one or two things.
Just like Abdulaziz, Johnson is another victim of the fire that raised down several wooden structures here at Agbogbloshie Bola Top Down. And like Abdulaziz, he also is unable to mobilize the funds to rebuild his home.
Everybody could see me where I'm standing. Break here. Money that has lost 800,000 above it.
Recall that when that fire incident broke out, there was a man who said he'd lost about 800,000 Ghana cedis. I'm standing right in front of his structure. Recall that he's a mobile money operator. Although he's not around to speak to us, Ismaila, who was also a victim of the fire, operates a lottery kiosk over here, and he also shares his story. They were here sometime November when the fire raised down so many structures. It came with some heavy wind, and so it really raised down most of their homes. And since then, they really haven't had anything much from the authorities, nor have they had any help.
Still up to now.
Into Wonyoma Bain Dana share.
Miss Carby, my hodu scar, me to me fire dorsal.
He in particular lost huge sums of money that he thought he was storing away from the fire, but unfortunately, everything was consumed in the fire. Although they do not know for sure what started the fire, nor do they have the conclusions from the investigations of the Ghana Fire Service or the Ghana Police Service, they say that they have had no help whatsoever from authorities, from the government, and even from philanthropists.
I'm even pleading for the government. If we can help us, the motor ben, into motor ben. If we give us some I call it them bar motors give us. Then you say for can pay small. Then we think how to do. But we all with their house. You say today be Tuesday. Today no be holiday. Today be Tuesday. We will not get motor to go work.
Me, the help I need right now is to take care of my children, because I'm having 7 children that I'm taking care of them. To take care of my children and their accommodation, please. That's my problem.
We thank God that you people come back for interview about what happened and what is going on for this time. And we really appreciate that. You do think about us, and we're proud of you. Thank you.
Motorbikes, homes, furniture, wooden structures that served as stalls, all burnt down to ashes. And they remain hopeful. However, they're asking that if anyone can come to their aid and help them, this is not what their lives looked like before that fire. And so please come to their aid. Because it appears we only focus on the issue, like the fire, when it is rife and happening at the moment. But these lives need help. So if you can, help them out. You have something to say? We want to listen to you. It's the Have Your Say segment on the AM show. The phone lines are on your screens, and Ben and I are here. Please call Benjamin Akakwa and tell him everything that's on your mind, Ben. But Ben, you know something that hasn't come up yet today? It's the sacking of the CEO of the Tamale Teaching Hospital. We haven't discussed that yet. What did you make of it?
At some point in the news, did we? Or was it? Yes, I believe.
Today?
It was in the news, actually.
Okay.
This morning. But yes, interesting scenes. Come to think of it, though, what is your take on it? You've watched the videos, right?
I have.
And let me just say this. You can call 0302-211-691 extension 2. It's at the bottom of your screen. Back to you.
Ben, I think in as much as we're looking for ministers who can raise to, what's the word for it?
Raise the
bar and all that. I think we can also temper justice with mercy. I do not know for sure if it's because of that altercation that he's been sacked or if it's because of the terrible situation that the hospital was.
Other discussions that point to other things that had happened.
Yeah, so perhaps I need more clarity on that.
But my issue would be whether that whole altercation was,
could have been avoided. We have a first caller.
Akonoba is on the line, actually.
Hi, Akonoba. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, my lovelies.
You have to speak up for us.
How are you?
Yeah.
I said, good morning, my lovelies. You and Ben, how are you doing?
We are fine, your lovelies.
Yeah.
Share your thoughts with us.
Yeah, you see, I was watching your show from during the time you interviewed Kuduga Adawudu and the Menchia North MP, Menchia South MP. And I want to commend the both of you. See, at times, presenters, God gives you a lot of patience. And let me say that I personally wasn't happy about the way Lawyer Bafuwa was going about things. When you are being interviewed on the radio, you should bear in mind that we, the listeners, are the reason why the presenters are interviewing you. So when you are asked a question and you are supposed to answer in all honesty, don't beat about the bush. I was so surprised about his hypocritical comment and the way he was not allowing you, especially Sweetie, to ask a question. You see, where was Lawyer Bafuwa? You cannot do this. What at all has the NPP found in this Chief Justice that they are defending her? And where was he when Charlotte Osei was being removed? What was their comment? When Anodom Pre and Richard Nyama, who are both NPP members, when they petitioned for the removal of the former Strat boss and President Mahama suspended her, when they applauded President Mahama, what happened then that they applauded President Mahama and this time they are not applauding President Mahama? Nobody has been able to raise a cogent issue of law. Right. I'm a lawyer. I'm also a law student. That what President Mahama has done violates the Constitution. And he's trying to raise some sort of Article 296 talking about discretionary power, blah, 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 blah. Without averting his mind to the Ramphos France case.
All right. Your point
said that discretionary power, when you are exercising, so far as it's not arbitrary, you cannot say you should publish a CI.
Okay.
At times they make the law that we are studying, they make it difficult for us. And some of us look at them. So when they come on air, they should have time and speak to the issues in all honesty. I'm so appalled about what they've done this morning.
Akonoba, thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. Let's take you to Tamale. Hello, good morning. We have I think we lost that person. I thought we had a caller from Tamale. Benjamin, back to you.
Well, I mean, on this matter, we'll have different takes, different strokes for different folks. But here we are. We're offering you the opportunity of having your say. Have your say, not my say, your say. Call that number 0302-211-691 extension 2. We have limited time, so let's know what's on your mind before we
No, there are two ways to interpret it, right? Whether we are giving you the chance to have your say or whether we want to have your say. Which one do you think it is? I think it's we want to have your say. So call us and give us your say. But there's an important information out there. Ben will take you to that.
The Full Gospel Businessmen's Fellowship International invites captains of industry, business executives, and the Christian community to the 2025 Argan Bright Partners Fund Convergence Conference at the African Regent Hotel, Accra, on Wednesday, the 23rd of April, 2025, which is actually today. It will be in two parts. Part 1, cocktail and networking from 4 p.m. through 5 p.m. Part 2 is the Convergence Conference on the theme, The Future of Ghana's Economy, Strategies for Business Growth and Resilience. The keynote speaker is Dr. Richmond Etiahene, a distinguished business and financial consultant. Time 5 p.m. through 8 p.m. And the Argan Bright Partnership Fund mobilizes resources to finance the FGBMFI's program to empower students and youth to overcome addictions and juvenile delinquency, adult literacy for market women, and outreach to taxi or trotro drivers and mates, that's conductors, boys and girls in the ghettos, as well as the fisher folks. So definitely one initiative to support. I don't know about the dating there because the 23rd of April, but anyway.
But there's still some more we have to tell you. We are giving you some exclusive Easter sales promotion. Don't ask me if it's still on because absolutely it's still on. It's happening from now to the 30th of April. You get up to 50% off when you buy top brands like LG, Samsung, TCL, HP, Techno, Infinix, Itel, and more. You can win an 85-inch smart TV, iPhones, laptops, juicers, rice cookers. Who doesn't like a good juicer? And you want to shop for laptops, printers, and all that at CompuGhana. They're the ones bringing you this promotion. With minimum of 1,000 Ghana cedis purchase, you can enter into the draw by simply texting your invoice number to the special short code. Now, the raffle draw is on the 2nd of May, so don't miss it. Shop online at www.compughana.com or visit any of our showrooms, or you can also call on 030-275-2020 or send us a WhatsApp on this number, 0243-143-143. It's a CompuGhana Easter sale going on as we speak, and it ends on the 30th of April 2025. I think we have just about a minute or so to go. So we have Prince on the line with us from Obuasi. Prince, good morning and thanks for calling. What's on your mind?
All right, good morning.
Hi, have your say.
My first issue has to start with you joining. You gave us this morning, you've given us a little time to talk about the issues that concerns us. At the same time, you are robbing us of the time that we need to call you and talk to you about. You've used all our minutes in advertising, and you are not telling me that it's left with a minute to go, and therefore you are taking.
We've used your time.
Professionally, fire me over there. I will let Sungu come and fire you over there.
Thank you for your take. That's an interesting one. Also, professionally, let's fire Benny over there. He's calling on Songo. We have to be careful. He's calling on Countryman Songo to come in.
Also, we've used their time to do adverts.
The adverts, you have no idea. The adverts take care of everything to ensure that we are able to come your way. So please pardon us.
I think, Ben, that's our time. Yeah, that's our time.
I think what he's also saying is that they want more time to express themselves.
Okay, so here's what we'll do. We'll tell you ahead of time if we'll have time to pick your calls so that you can prepare and then we can pick as many calls as possible. Thank you all so much for staying with us from 6 a.m. till now. We really enjoy doing this with you. So stick with us. Tomorrow we'll be back on your screens. I'm Benjamin Akakpo.
And my name is Sweetie. Are you Akosia?
No.
What's your?
Ajo.
Sweetie Ajo Abochi. That's my name. We'll be back serving you tomorrow, but up next, Joy News Desk.